Meeting will come to order. Clerk will please call the roll.
Councilor Capone.
Here.
Councilor Della Sola.
Here.
Councilor Florio. Councilor DePiero.
Here.
Councilor Mangan.
Here.
Councilor Matusky.
Here.
Councilor McKinnon.
Here.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Here.
Councilor Napolitano. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Hanley.
Here.
10 members present, Mr. President.
Mr. President, we have a quorum. Would the audience please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. 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 Clerk will please read the first item on tonight's agenda.
Item number 1 is to conduct a public hearing in accordance with the requirements of Chapter 40, Section 56 of the Massachusetts General Laws in order to vote on the minimum residential factor in order to determine the percentages of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of real property.
Thank you. Is there a presenter, I would imagine present? Someone's going to do the presentation? Okay. Whoever it is, please come forward.
Oh, it's good. Okay. So before, good evening, Mr. President and members of the City Council and viewing audience. Before we go through the presentation, I think you are well aware that we are looking to offset this year's taxes by about $8 million, well, $8 million. And if you can look at your calendars, you see that $5 million is the direct result of our first payment from the Wynn Casino, which we always said that we'd use towards infrastructure or capital improvements, so we were paying down our debt obligation with that $5 million. And then, as you know, traditionally, we've always used a few $1 million from either stabilization or free cash. And this year, due to, tremendous fiscal management, I'll say, we're able to have over $6 million in free cash and $9 million in stabilization, and it's the taxpayers' money. So this is a way of giving them a little break, the best that we can, give them a break, and you know, I'll answer any questions you may have regarding what we'll do next year's later, and you know, of course, we'll be here to answer, you know, financial forecast questions, but tonight you have 2 issues before you, is the shift and the minimum residential factor, those 2 issues, but take into consideration, this budget is showing a $8 million offset to this year's taxes. We can run what that would look if we don't use the $8 million, and we can give you those numbers. But just wanted to let you know, I take a lot of pride in the fact that we're able to do this, and that we're able to afford to do this. And I think this is the greatest amount of money that any mayor has ever levied against the taxes. As we all know, we've talked to many people who own property. I think I've heard it from this council itself that they want to use revenues to offset taxes. I think all of us here. I think when we all started this mission of bringing this resort to the city, one of the cries was for relief, right? You're looking at $5 million this year, $12.5 million next year from Wynn, and $12.5 million the third year. And that's before the casino comes online or the hotel resort comes online, which will generate, you know, nearly or more, probably more than $30 million when you take in the taxes, the mitigation costs, the hotels and meal taxes. So you're looking at $30 million plus revenue coming in yearly. So we can afford to do this, and I think it's the right time. We're a very fortunate community, thanks to the players that work here in this building on a daily basis, and the support that I've received from you all. I think we can offer residents this break. You've seen that we made a significant improvement in police and fire, and some of the you know, results of our budget numbers going up were public safety related. Most were some union contracts that came up, and also for staffing up in anticipation of the resort opening, and just making sure our city is adequately fulfilled when it comes to police and fire. So I will take any questions if you want now, or we can do the presentation and then do the question and after. I just want to thank you for your time.
Mike,
Good?
Yeah, that's something different. Those are different.
all right. Why don't we do the presentation, and then we'll have the public hearing in case anybody would like to ask a few questions besides the members of the council.
Thank you.
Okay? So we'll go ahead with the presentation.
Yep.
Yes. Someone we all know. Mr. Hart, please identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Bill Hart. I'm the chairman of the Board of Assessors, and I'm joined this evening by Pam Davis, the chief assessor for the city of Everett. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This evening won't be any different than we have done in previous years. I generally present to you the two items that we're required to put forward for a vote to the city council, one of which, as the mayor has already alluded to, is the shift from the business community to away from the folks in the residential side of the house to the business community, and the other is the residential exemption. And upon the mayor's recommendation, he's recommending a 25% residential exemption. You heard him say in his opening remarks that $8 million is being, with your vote at the 7 o'clock meeting, will go to offset taxes. That's a historical amount of funds that we could find in the past several years going to offset that taxes. So for the folks at home and in the audience above on the screens, you'll see the presentation. And for the rest of the folks here in the City Council, the items are on your desk. So quite frankly, the purpose of our classification hearing is dictated by Massachusetts general law. And as you can see, the definition is pretty clear that the City Council, together with the mayor's approval in the city, which has been certified by the Commissioner of Revenue to be assessing property at full and fair cash value, shall annually first determine the percentages of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of real property as defined in Section 2A of Chapter 59, and personal property for the next fiscal year. And that, again, is our residential, or our shift, as we refer to it here in Everett. This does not change, however, the total tax levy for the community. It simply determines the share of the levy to be borne by each class. So once again, our residential parcels versus our commercial and industrial parcels. What happens after the values are certified by the Department of Revenue? As you know, the state certifies our values. There's a lot of preparation work that goes into these documents done by Pam and the staff down on the first floor. A lot of time and energy goes into preparing these documents. They're reviewed and approved, and the city would receive certification from the Department of Revenue, and we receive it in the mayor's office as well as in our office downstairs. Once the properties have been classified and certified, the City Council holds a public hearing. So that's why we're here this evening, according to the law. As a representative of the Board of Assessors, I present information to the City Council, who will then vote to whether establish a different rate or tax all classes of property at the same rate. And historically, we've always had differences in our value. It hasn't been in probably over 30 years that we've had a one-rate system. So tonight, we're asking you to vote for two items, and I think the mayor alluded to in his opening remarks. The selection of a minimum residential factor, also known as the shift. So the rest of the conversation, I'll probably use the term shift, and then the residential exemption. Again, the residential exemption last year was 20%, but the law, the state law passed this year, allows the city to increase the percentage, and the mayor is recommending 25%. Let's start with the minimum residential factor. In the state of Massachusetts, 52 cities and towns, approximately 30% of those cities and towns have a split rate, much like Everett. If Everett chooses a single rate, based on the information that we've been provided by the mayor, including what I hope you'll accept as a minimum residential factor, along with a homeowner exemption, we would be charging everyone $20.39 on their value. Again, historically, the City Council has shifted the burden away from the residential taxpayer and shifted it to the commercial industrial properties. There's four types of classes of property: residential, and then the commercial, industrial, and personal property. And personal property, for example, are things that a store owner may have in their selling of their products. They're counted, and we assess those values, and we tax on those values. And you folks have been very generous to the small business in years past by giving them an exemption as well, which is $10,000, I think, annually, which is very, very generous for a city. So let's get into what a levy limit means and what we're doing here tonight. The levy limit, which is the maximum amount of money the city can levy in a given year. The levy limit can grow each year by 2.5%. So you all remember the historic tax legislation many years ago that allowed cities and towns to grow 2.5% from the prior year's levy limit, plus any new growth and any proposition overrides. Of course, we didn't have any overrides, but we've had new growth in the city, and we'll talk about that later in a subsequent slide. Then there's the definition of a maximum allowable levy. This is the levy limit plus debt exclusions or other allowable adjustments. Again, this is part of our calculation, and I just point out these definitions to you annually so we can just follow along, because I don't get too heavy in the details on these pages, but certainly want you to know where some of the information is derived and some of the definitions behind it. Excess levy capacity is the difference between the levy limit and the actual levy. When the City Council signs the LA form after this meeting tonight, there's a form that you sign that certifies that you voted tonight. That would advise you of any excess levy capacity for that fiscal year. So for 2017, the levy is $96,745,937. We're able to actually tax up to $104,642,418, which means we have an excess levy capacity, which I just defined, of close to $8 million. Last year, our levy was $93,653,216. So you see how FY17 has risen a few million dollars. Page 9 or slide 9. Fiscal year 2017 levy limit, and this is the calculations that we use. So we have $99,542,806 that we could have levied last year, or taxed last year. To that, we add 2.5%, which is allowable increase, again, because of the historic legislation years ago on the property taxes, plus the new growth. I mentioned new growth. This year, we've calculated new growth in the city of Everett to be $2,611,042. When you add all of that together, you receive the $104,642,418. Again, the levy limit that I mentioned in the page before. That means the city, if they chose to, could levy taxes and collect $104,642,418. We really only need to collect, based on our expected expenses, $96,745,937. So that's the number we'll use, the $96 million. That's what we know we need to collect from taxpayers in this year. Now, what do you do with that kind of money? Do we bear it all in one class? Do we just charge one rate? And that's the purpose of our meeting tonight. We make that decision. We decide to shift, if that's your choice, to shift some of the burden away from our residents to the business class, or the CIP, those other three categories that you saw in the previous page. So here's some examples. If we were to shift it, as we have historically done for many, many years here, we've shifted it at 1.75, which is the maximum allowable percent we can shift. Okay? So there's some examples of what a value for a single-family home was in 2016, FY 2016, what they paid in taxes, this year the value of that home, and what they'll pay in taxes. Now, the good news for some people, I think, is that their value of their homes have increased significantly. It's a testament to the way in which the community is run, the services that we offer, the community itself, its culture, and I think that Everett has been pretty proud over the years to say we've got a strong community. This is fiscally showing you that we are a very strong community, and our values are showing it. So there's a few examples of single and two and three family homes with values in 16, what they paid in 16 for taxes, what the 17 value will be, and what the 17 tax will be. Now, as you know, we you've all received probably one tax bill already, which is a preliminary. Then the actual tax bill will go out in December based on the votes taken tonight and the decisions we make. So looking at those same examples of single and two and three family homes, on average, last year, a single family home taxpayer had a $3,000 tax bill, $3,071.48 for the people in the audience and following at home. So at the bottom of the page, $3,071.48 with a 20% exemption. This year, that same average single family home with a 25% exemption, if you so approve, will pay $2,918.77 for taxes. And as you can see below, the two and three family examples follow much the same way with a decrease. Now, I know I'm kind of going quickly, but for folks, if you have something on a page you want me to stop, just give me a signal. So tonight, the vote for the residential exemption is an actual vote taken by a city council according to Massachusetts general law. And we would hope that this council would accept the mayor's recommendation of a 25% exemption for owner-occupied properties. Only exclusions to this rule is any vacant land or residential properties not occupied as a primary residence by the owner. So for example, if you live next door to a home that you own but don't live in, and you would only get the exemption on one home that you own, and that's the one you call your residence, even though you may, and many people never do, they own a house next door or across the street, they only can receive it on one. So with your vote tonight, that 25% exemption would be applied to this process. Let's just look at some examples on the next slide, the residential exemption calculation. So if you took all the residential property in the city of Everett currently, and you looked at what that value would be, it is $3 billion, $3,162,161,321 across 8,537 pieces of property. That's a significant value. Then you take the average value of a residential property. So we've determined it's $370,407, and this is based on a calculation that is used across every city and town when they look at examples of average property values. If we apply the value of 25%, which again I'm hoping that you would adopt, the residential exemption that a person would receive in the city of Everett would be $92,602 in value off of their property. So assuming that property that they have is an average value of $370,000, you're going to knock off $92,000 in value. Then you multiply it. Last year, our residential exemption was a little over $70,000. So you can see that applying the 25% versus the 20% exemption is significantly coming back to the taxpayer in the form of dollars off value. Now, granted, our values have risen in Everett, and that's, I think, something to be proud of. As much as we'd like to keep our taxes strong and our rates strong, the good news is our values are climbing. I think what the mayor has done, again, is unprecedented by putting $8 million in there to continue to make this the best possible rate for our taxpayer. So, out of the 8,537 parcels in Everett, the total number that would qualify for that exemption is just shy of 4,100 parcels. So, just so you can get a sense of how many pieces out there will actually be eligible for this exemption should you pass it. The next page on 13, again going back to that $92,000, $602 exemption, you multiply that by the number of parcels that we have in the city of Everett that would be eligible. That gives you a value of $379,205,190. So what we're saying is we're taking that right off the top of that number I gave you a few moments ago, $3 billion. We're taking $379 million right off if we approve this exemption tonight. We have to make that up elsewhere. So I just want you to know that even though we're giving a break to the residents who will reside in their address that they provide, there are other parcels that will receive no exemption and will be making up the difference. So again, the calculation, and I don't want to read line by line, but that $3 billion number that I mentioned, minus the $379,205 amount that we have to take away from the $3 billion leaves us with $2,782,956 to value. So that's the remaining taxable property values. This is how we determine the rate. So now we know, again, we took a lot of liberties with these calculations based on what we perceive as your approval and what the mayor had committed to publicly. So we took that 8 million, the 25%, did the calculations, and we came up with a tax rate of $14.48 per thousand for residential property. Now, again, that's assuming that you approve or agree to the 1.75 shift, as you've done historically, and approve the 25%. Again, this presentation is predicated on your votes at 7 o'clock, and of course, the one today, which I'm asking you to vote for, is the two items on the residential exemption and the shift. So that's what item, page 14 is, or slide 14 is, the two votes. So technically, even though we say the shift is 1.75, it's a calculation of .6, and I have to say this under the law, .624904. That is the percent calculation that we multiply. So very technical, but it's safe to say that the information that you have here, plus whatever I can answer, hopefully will clear up any confusion. Pam has done an enormous amount of work in preparing the documents. This is only one iota of the materials that go out of this out of the assessor's office to prepare this tax rate. So thank you for your attention. Again, I go through it quickly because I know many of you are veterans with this, but if there are any other questions, please feel free at this time. I know the mayor and Eric are here to answer as well.
I have a list of questions that people want to ask, so I'm going to start off first with Councilor McLaughlin.
Mr. Hart, thank you for appearing this evening and for that very informative slide presentation. My question to you, well, I have two parts of a question. One is, what does the number break down if we don't do the 25% on home or occupied? What does the number break down to be? And why did we decide this year versus any other year to go to 25% versus the 20%
Sure.
that we've done historically past?
Right. The 25% has just been passed by the state legislature. We didn't have that option in years past. We only had the 20% option. But the legislature passed a bill this year that allowed a city or town who wants to offer residential exemption to go to 25%, which is what the mayor's done. So that's why this is the first time you'll see it. In terms of what the 20%, if I think on the, let me just refer back to one of the pages, Counselor, that broke down what it would be at 20% on page 10. So if you look at page 10, we did that breakdown for you just on the average values of a single, a two, and a three-family home. That was 16. Right, I understand that. But that just gives you a sense. It wouldn't be significantly different, but it certainly will put you in the ballpark. I don't know if there's a separate calculation at the 20% that we have.
I didn't, but I have a spreadsheet that I could copy and bring up.
Sure. We did take the liberty of doing that for some addresses randomly. I'm sure some of you will see some familiarity with the addresses, so you can see what that means, but we certainly can provide that to you. But there is, yes, yep.
Councilor Capone, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to either of our invited guests. I've got the, so we have about $3 billion worth of taxable residential property. What do we have for commercial industrial? Do we know the figure and the number possible?
There is a calculation, Counselor, and let me see if I have that in my envelope, and if I don't, I'm certainly sure we can get that value.
I mean, traditionally, we've always done the minimum residential factor, and I don't see that
That's
being
correct.
a problem, but it's always good just to know.
Let me just see where it is, right? I don't want to give you the, is that it for?
Well, this is the commercial, that's the industrial.
I just want to look for the subtotal, so, yeah.
Well, the
Oh,
subtotal
shoot.
is,
So I can break it down for you line by line if you have a calculator. So to your question about what is the other values, the commercial value is $503,718,289, and BJ will add this up for us. The industrial parcels are $714,758,460, and the personal property in the city is $363,988,960. $363,009,200. So that
So
comes.
roughly 1.5, Bill?
Yeah, that looks about 1.5, yeah, almost 1.6, yeah, exactly.
Okay. And do we know how many parcels we're talking about? If you have that handy, fine. If not, that's
Um,
not really
So the,
crucial, but
Well,
what, and
including
the residential parcels?
personal
No.
property.
commercial and industrial.
Um,
If you don't have it there, it's not a big thing. I always get that from you another time. I'm just
Yeah.
interested in the different.
I don't have
values.
the actual number count here, unless it's somewhere else.
approximately 500.
No, we don't, I didn't bring it up. I
Okay.
don't have the count.
That's fine. You know, so it's
Okay.
about a little over, it's a hair over 1.5 billion.
Yes.
For commercial and industrial.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't have any other
It's
questions.
roughly 9,200 accounts,
Thank you.
including personal property and residential.
Counselor
I
DeFlorio,
can always
please.
get that. from
Yeah,
you.
we can break it down, because it is all broken down. Again, we have to put so much detail when we send it out to the Department of Revenue. It's all there, but good questions, we have it, so we can get it up to you. No problems. You're welcome.
Counselor DeFlorio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Bill, the figures we have in front of us include putting the $8 million towards the taxes, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, it is.
Okay. The other question I have is, 25% exemption, you're doing it on an average single family, which we normally do.
Right.
Is the cap, I just want to make sure I understood this right, is the cap 92,000?
Yes.
So if your house is worth $700,000, you're not gonna get the total value, which historically, that's always been like that. But how much have the values actually gone up from 16 to 17?
Well, we've seen a significant rise in single and two and three-family homes, and I just did a quick review not so long ago, not really methodical, but I looked at every two-family that was up for sale and sold in the city of Everett in the last 6 months. Every single one of them, with one exception, sold above asking, and they were well into the $500,000 and $600,000, which is a significant increase over the values that we have on them, and certainly what they were selling for just a year ago. So I don't know what the percent is, Rosa, Counselor, but yes, it's significantly increased the values.
But are you going, do you have those values?
Those are
going-
calculated in
They're
that, yes,
calculated in-
yes.
in-
When we come up with the average value of that 1, 2, and 3 family, but the single family, that's based on a higher value than last year.
Okay, so
Yes.
based on everything going on, the exemptions, 25%, if we accept the 25% and give it the 8 million, the residential tax rate is $14.58, is that?
48 cents, yep, 48 cents.
14.48?
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor Leo McKinnon.
Thank you, Mr. President. To Mr. Hart. Mr. Hart, I asked this at every one of these that I've been to, and there's been a few of them. So what is the breakdown of savings for a single-family, a two-family, and a three-family?
So again, going back to that page.
Just so that the viewing audience can
Right.
understand.
10. So if you want to slip to slide, yep, she's got it up there on slide 10. So, again, based on, last year we only had to 20%, so it's
Yes.
hard to compare 20 or 25. But, so we showed you last year's 20% exemption for a single-family home, and what that same single-family would be at 25% in this year. So you're
So,
saving $100, $160 annually on that single family. On the two-family, you're saving probably a little bit better than that, probably about the same. It's going up, yep. So you're gonna, for under 25%, the two-family would be on average $4,428.97 with an exemption. Last year, at 20%, it was $4,277, so you're seeing a bigger savings, even though the value has gone up. Yeah, that's what you said.
So that would go up how much?
The savings,
Um,
so the difference between 4277.91 and 4428.97, the delta between that's $150, $160. But again, don't forget, your value's also gone up in 17. So it's really, if your value stayed exactly the same, which it never usually does, but if it stayed exactly the same, it may have been even larger, but our values are going up on top of it all. Again, it is good news that values are strong in the city.
So on what the three-family would be what? An
So that
increase?
difference
So these would be
looks-
the two and the threes would be an increase, correct?
Increase in savings.
Increase in savings?
Savings, yeah.
Okay.
It's about $250 in savings.
So that would be for the two-family?
That's a three-family.
Oh, that would be?
Yeah.
250?
But also
if you look-
keep in mind that the commercial taxpayers
Uh-huh.
are paying less.
So we're shifting, if we shift.
Even though with the shift,
Yep.
commercial tax rates going down, and their values either stayed steady or actually have not increased like the residential properties. Remember years ago, it was the other way around?
Yeah, we had to
Right.
speed up the commercial
Right.
and
Right.
save the residential.
This time, the commercial is just the way it worked out. Residential values are moving steadily faster, where commercial values aren't.
Well,
That's why you don't see that great amount of savings in the residential tax bill, even with the 25% shift and with the $8 million offset in the taxes. You're not seeing that, you think, wow, we'll be saving a lot of money. Well, you're not. You
No.
know, it's just,
It's
weekend
basically-
in the hurt.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at is with the 8 million that's being introduced in, it's almost like it's going to level it off, correct?
No, well,
And-
for
and
some,
then-
maybe. I mean, for me, no.
Not for you.
No, it's a great hurt.
It's a different,
Actually,
different category.
For a lot of you, actually, there's a hurt. For a few of you.
So, I
you know?
mean, but that's what we're trying to do. I mean, with this, you're going to see the increase in property valuation go up.
Yeah, I mean,
And you want to try to see the leveling off of your taxes, correct, for these first couple of years? Is that what we're trying to do?
we have the funds.
Just for the viewing audience,
Yeah,
so they
so
understand.
I answered this question for the press earlier. We have the funds, and we have the funds in the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
And not only just with the wind resorts, it's with the power plant coming back on 2020. It's with all the new growth that's anticipated down in 99 and 16 and other areas from new developments coming on. When we look at your new growth number, we had it in the budget and when it really came out as, look at your local revenues. I mean, the free cash number, those numbers are gonna stay steady.
Yes.
There is no signs of it diminishing, and you're gonna see some services in the community go down as values and prices of housing go up. And we're gonna try to work on that with things like inclusionary zoning. I don't wanna get too crazy, but.
Yeah, no. But I think that's a great thing that we can actually do that as a city.
Right.
Give $8 million back and still maintain, our AA bondings, everything, without hurting anything that we're
Right.
trying to do in the city as well. So we're getting a break at some point here and leveling off with our property evaluations going up. So that's a good thing. So and we have, I know for the next meeting, we have 3 items that are on for the 8 million, plus the 24 that's what we did. We asked you to take a look at it and see what you can come up with. I want to commend you for that, and as well as the administration for doing that. But I wanted to see, with this right here,
So to your point, Counselor, it's tough to make that comparison between 16 and 17 for 2 reasons. One,
yeah.
the values have gone up, and 2, we have a larger
you're
percent.
going from 20 to 25.
Right. But,
And
I mean, I
also
think the mayor has mitigated any real swing by offering the 8 million and offering the 25%.
Absolutely. And the property evaluations have increased.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're
Councilor
welcome.
Richard Delasola.
Council McKinnon stole my question on
I'm sorry.
numbers of. Excuse me? I'm just glad this is all going on, and I'm looking forward to, it's nice that the commercial, I know we always try to take care of the residents, but the commercial's getting a small break also.
Yeah.
We gotta keep on inviting them in,
Mhm.
and we're getting a break as a resident, and like I just said, the commercial, so I think it's
And
a
I
great
think,
job
yeah,
from-
I do think you have a lot going on. The administration's been working tirelessly to attract new business, and I think you're seeing the fruits of their labor paying off with lots of folks moving into this community and building, and so that's
It's
good.
only a start. This
It's
is
only
the start
starting.
of,
Correct.
the next 3 or 4 years, and going on down the road, it's gonna be great savings for everybody.
You're absolutely right,
Thank you.
Counselor. You're welcome.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Councilor Michael Mangan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Hart, for appearing. Again, just going on what Council McKinnon said, just so the person at home knows, like I said, there's about roughly almost 4,100 properties that actually qualify for this exemption. And then with the 8 million, based on last year, with the 25% instead of the 20 on a single family, those people that do qualify are actually going to save or actually their taxes are gonna go down.
On average, I
Yeah,
mean, not
on the
everybody,
average,
right,
on-
because
on-
depending,
on
some
average.
houses appreciate
Right, but
stronger
even
than
for
others.
2 and 3 families where
Yep.
we know it looks like it's about 10%, on the value of the properties, it looks like 10% from one year to another. I mean, you're only looking at it, one's an increase of two-family of $150, and the other one is, three families is a increase of $250, so that's.
And that increase means increase in savings, so I just want to
Yeah.
be sure. I know that a few folks thought it meant an increase in, no, it means an increase in savings, that's what that is, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's an increase in savings, that's what that column is, yeah.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood
That's
it.
okay, nope,
The
it's
other
a
thing-
good thing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
And
it's a
and
good
then in the
thing.
past also too is that I know we've had some like condos, maybe small condos and stuff like that, that maybe didn't qualify because of, I think your value has to be at a certain
correct.
thing. So
That's correct.
do we have a lot more maybe because of the increase in the property value? Do we have more of those properties coming in line now? or-
We could, I mean, ultimately, values have increased, so the person who may have not qualified in years past because their value didn't reach that threshold, their value may have changed. Now, I don't know the big shift in condos. I do know in the single-family, two-family, houses have significantly
Right.
risen in value from one year to the next. I mean, that's a good thing. But the condos, to your point, Counselor, if they go above that threshold that didn't allow them to qualify, they will be this year. And of course, we won't know that until we process all this.
And I know, I just recently, I'm sure some of my other counselors had saw it too. I think it was, I don't know if it was the Globe, but somebody that put out just recently saying that, I know Everett, Massachusetts was in, I believe, the top 5 in terms of, growth, in terms of, property values
It's either
and so
business,
forth.
yeah, I saw it in either Business Journal, Boston Business Journal,
Okay.
Everett's got.
All right, so, but like
high
I
up
said,
there.
again, it's great,
Mhm.
just again, for people at
Yep.
home. I mean, Everett's certainly on the rise, whatever, like I
Yeah,
said.
we're in a very strong position.
No, not good, and I commend not only your office, but the administration, like I said, because one of the things we did talk about, we've talked about it for months now, is whether with money or anything else, let's help the person living in the house and so forth, and, with taxes and stuff like that. So, I mean, this is wonderful, like I
Right, and I
said,
think you
so-
heard the mayor say, I mean, this is a significant amount of money.
It
The
is.
administration heard the councilors in the past, and we've worked closely to be sure that we give every benefit to the residential person, and that's what he's done this year.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Fred Capone, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry to double back. The only reason why I did that is a question was asked about the $8 million levy. I didn't realize that these numbers already incorporated.
Yes.
As if we had favorably voted on
Yep.
the $8 million levy.
I thought that would be a fair
Okay.
way to do it. If you, for any reason, didn't accept either one, we'd have to come back and recalculate that numbers.
Sure.
So we did take a liberty.
Okay, so fiscal year 16, the tax rate for residential, what was the rate that was set at that?
1445,
$14.45. And how about the commercial?
$37.98.
$37.98?
8, yes.
Okay, so going for fiscal year, it went up 3 cents per thousand on the residential. It's gone down a little over $2
Correct.
per thousand on the commercial. On the residential exemption, I'm looking at that, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear with that.
Sure.
On page 10.
Mhm.
So with the 25% exemption, the residential exemption, are we looking, is that 2,918, is that what we're saying the average tax bill is?
For a single-family home in 2017,
Okay. All right, so you've got the 150 decrease there, but the 2-family and the 3 families, you're going to have a pickup. And so you've got a 150 increase on the 2 families, and you've got a 250 increase on the 3 families, correct?
That's due to the extreme appreciation of multifamilies.
Correct. But that's what we have. We have a 250 increase on 3 families and a 150 on 2s.
Correct.
Is that correct?
and without those both pieces that the mayor's offering, it would be significantly bigger.
Sure.
Yeah.
Without,
Yeah.
exactly. Without an $8 million levy to reduce that,
Right.
you'd have a much bigger number.
Correct.
But, and again, I realize that with the shift of 25%, increasing that, it is going to put more of a burden on 2 families and 3 families. But you can only do so much, so I'm happy we're moving in the right direction. And with the additional revenues and the additional growth, I think $8 million is great. I know it's probably larger than, as the mayor said, larger than any mayor's done before, but given the level of growth that we have, I think it's a very good first step.
You're
I think
absolutely right.
it's a
And
start.
I think you'll see more as the administration forecasts the future. growth in the city, I think you'll all be pleasantly pleased to see those
Great.
numbers.
Thank you very much.
You're
No other
welcome.
questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Michael McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Mr. Hart. Mr. Hart, if we were to not vote for the $8 million number tonight, what does our tax rate look like?
It would be significantly higher.
Significantly higher,
Yes.
correct?
I mean, you look at, what is it, Pam? For every million, it's like 15, 16 cents per thousand. So when I say significant, that adds up. You know, 8 times 15 is what, $1.20 per thousand times the new rate. So yeah, I think, you know, that's significant.
What this year makes it, if we didn't have the opportunity to put $8 million towards our tax rate, what would happen to, the tax rate would be significantly higher, correct? If we didn't have that opportunity to put the $8 million towards the levy.
It's certainly helping, yes. But again, I think people will see a larger bill at times because their value is increased. And as a homeowner, I'm happy to see my value increase. Because that means the city is healthy and my value is there. We have lots of things to be, that contribute to a higher value on a property, and none of which is by accident, and all of which is planned. And this administration has made significant strides in so many areas, from schools to parks to the quality of life that we enjoy in Everett. Significantly increases the value because people want to live here. And so it's almost a good problem to have, but you pay for a good problem. But what this administration's done, part and parcel with the good news about values, is they're putting monies that they have available to them to keep that rate so that it continues to be attractive for people to stay here once they come here, or for those that are here to stay in their place of residence that have been, you know, residents 50, 60 years.
The major problem that I see with this tonight, Mr. Hart, to be truthful with you, I'm struggling on taking this vote tonight. The problem is $8 million is a lot of money. We know that there's many potential infrastructure improvements and capital improvement plans that are being talked about every day in this building that need to be funded as well. An $8 million one-shot deal, what happens to next year's levy? What happens to the future? This is a tough tax levy. Because I don't think that it is really fully thought out at $8 million. I had hoped to anticipated to have some longer discussions about this, but if we take this vote tonight, that we lock into this number, no matter what we do with the $8 million that is proposed before.
No, as I said before, if you don't vote for the $8 million, we'd have to do different calculations for you to approve, yes. But I think that the $8 million is certainly a priority to keep taxes low, and I think that's what the administration heard from this very body last year, especially, that they wanted to see more money go into it. And I think there's an item, Councilman McKinnon mentioned, item 24 in the calendar, that's asking for those kinds of plans to be made in the years ahead, knowing the income that we'll be receiving from the casino and other properties that the city's been taxing and going after to get more money from.
I think it's been a long-standing practice that we don't touch the stabilization fund. I think that's been a long practice across the city of Everett, not to touch the stabilization. In fact, we're taking $1 million out of stabilization tonight, or potentially taking $1 million out of stabilization tonight. I believe we're playing with fire. So I have some real concerns with the $8 million, and I'm just wondering if we decide to do something different, you'll come back and present.
We would have to, but we'd be in a tight time frame because we obviously have an obligation to get the actual tax bills out to the people in the month of December. The Department of Revenue, we're usually the first ones to get our information in because we've got a crackerjack operation downstairs. They're in the thrust of doing all these other cities and towns. That could severely delay our ability to tax, and then we're no further ahead, quite frankly. I think delaying it or possibly not voting the way it's proposed is going to have significant impact on the community, and I'm sure that's not what you want. I'll let the mayor and his folks.
But unfortunately, right, I understand timeline, but unfortunately, to not take a vote that we're not comfortable with, unfortunately, this is the timeline we're faced with.
That's certainly your prerogative,
Well,
but I
you know,
think the mayor's
Councilman
gonna-
McLaughlin, we want you to feel comfortable, so, you know, we'll stay here as long as you want to answer any question you have, and I mean that wholeheartedly, to make you feel comfortable. And if you want to, you know, $8 million is a lot of money, and yes, we have a lot of projects that we could spend $8 million on, you know, the culvert, the Spring Street Market culvert, the different areas of the city where flooding, I mean, you know, things that people don't see, but it costs a lot of money. I mean, I would love to go down there and repair that and take that $8 million and go down there and do that. We'll be able to do that soon, and we could do it now. You know, I think we have a responsibility as city leaders to offset some of the increases to people's taxes. You know, when I negotiated that $30 million fee, it was a fee to pay down debt. It was a fee to build, you know, new parks. It was a fee for capital improvements. So that $5 million that we're using to offset taxes is going to go pay down on debt that we've spent on capital improvements, on, you know, streets, sidewalks, parks, and so forth. So can we afford to keep that going? You know, you also have to recognize that I don't think there's ever been really a time where we have 15 million in surplus. It's actually viewed by a lot of people, a lot of different agencies, to not have it's not fair to the current taxpayers to hold that much money in reserves, that it's their money and that you should give it back to them. And and let me just finish. And it is their money. So, and we are giving it back to them. And I think we set the priority here in my administration years ago to make sure we, every year, put money towards towards stabilization, towards other liabilities that we have, and we are doing it still with the free cash monies, and still invested in our schools, and invested in our infrastructure, and not forgetting anything. You know, we're taking a whole holistic approach at the city, from transportation to what do we do to increase values of property? What are we doing to the older folks that are living in these properties that are being rented out of their properties? What are we going to do to make sure they can stay? You know, how are we not going to gentrify our city? How are we not going to move every older resident out of the city? And we're taking those steps right now to make sure that that doesn't happen with things like inclusionary zoning, with things looking at St. Teresa's Church, that maybe senior affordable housing, working with our senator and our rep to bring affordable housing units to the city. So we're taking all this stuff into consideration, and let me tell you, it took me a long time to come to the $8 million. You know, I like to spend on infrastructure. I believe in building a better and stronger community, but it's only the right thing to do. And I've said it now from day one when we brought Wynn in. I always said it, we're going to offset taxes. We're not going to totally offset taxes, but what's going to happen in 2020 when the power plant comes back on full valuation, giving us an additional $15 million in revenue, in the Wynn development at $30 million, and that's his first hotel. I was with him just 3 days ago. He is looking at building a second or third. He wants to build more hotel rooms. That's the business that he's in, and that's what he wants to do, and that's what he's going to turn 99 into. That's why he's marching down the street and buying those parcels. From a place that's paying 200, you know, let's say 20,000 in taxes, a used car lot, it's called GT's Lounge, for instance, right? GT's Lounge and Pepe's. I don't know what he was paying in taxes. It wasn't, you know, that much. That will be a future site of a hotel or some great development. Not, you know, not that any of those businesses weren't great developments, but they weren't generating the taxes and jobs that what's going to be generating down there. So don't be fearful, because. And I respect you. I think sometimes you have some of the best questions that come out of here. Sometimes I really do. This is a good thing for the city of Everett. This is a good thing for residents who own property. It's not, you know, a save all for everybody, but it's weakening the burden, weakening the effects that's going to happen. So a lot of residents, the values of their property have gone up. Even though the rate has gone down, they're going to see an increase in their taxes. Commercial taxpayers, commercial residents, they're going to see a benefit this year, which is great. You know, being a business owner, it's great to see that sometimes we, you know, can make out once in a while also.
Mr. Mayor, in all due respect, I agree with a lot of what you just stated. My concern is there is absolutely no question that everybody wants to save the taxpayers' money, and that we've all fought hard over many years, whether I was here or not, to be able to do that at some point. And tonight's that night, I believe, collaboratively. The problem is, beyond the $5 million that we've gained from Wynn, I think we're playing with fire, touching out stabilization, touching out free cash. I think that's
well, we put that money in the free cash and stabilization.
I think it's a slippery slope that we're going down. That next year, we'll be okay. What happens in 18 and 19 leading up to 20 is a big question. There's a lot of potential that could happen in the city that would need to be dealt with immediately, whether it's a new fire station. Well, there's a lot of projects that could happen. Yeah. There's a culvert issue, as you just talked about. There's so much that potentially could happen, that if we go beyond the $5 million, I really think we're heading down a slippery slope for the next couple of years before we're able to balance off in 2020, which everybody has talked about in the future. That's my only question, is where do we go tonight? If we want to
It's,
eliminate
it's not
a
even
few
20,
million-
it's not even 2020. We're in, I don't want to debate this too long, because I know a lot of you already, I think you know how you're going to vote this evening.
But you just said
we-
you'd stay here as long as we.
I will, I
Answer
will.
the question.
But if you want, okay, if you want to keep interacting like this, we feel very comfortable and very confident that the city is in the best condition it's ever has been. And I can say that, and I don't want to offend any of my friends who have been prior mayors, one especially in this room that I love dearly, but we are probably in the best condition we've ever have been as a city, as the city of Everett. Have you ever seen $9 million in stabilization? I think at one time we did, and that went away real quick. $6 million in free cash, a revenue stream of, in May, we received another $12.5 million from the wind development. In the next year after, another $12.5 million. And then when it opens, it's $30+ million. And that's just the one hotel. And that's not even talking about the new hotel on Route 16, or the different hotel developers that have been in my office talking
No,
to me
we can
about.
absolutely talk about hypothetical.
You know, so it's
what's
not like
gonna come
hypothetical situations.
to the city.
It's actual things that are happening in the city of Everett. And you know what? We owe it. It's the people's money. It's not our money. It's their
I think
money.
The $5 million from Wynn is rightfully.
It's all
due
their
and
money.
Rightfully owed.
The free
But I
cash
think
is
that
their
if we
money.
start to
You don't understand how free cash is generated?
I do, but
It's their money.
that's fine. My real question was, could we take a look at what if we were to break down the $8 million to $4 million or $5 million? What does the tax levy look like at that point? That's what
I understand we create the hole that you said, and I like I said, I do value your opinions. I think they're justifiable. This is something that we can afford, and we can afford to do it. Now, remember, we're in 2017 now, so 18's next year, 19, and then, it's not like we can't afford to do it, because we can, because the revenue is there. I know before people were skeptical that the resort was going to come and all that stuff, but it's obviously it's happening. A lot of things are happening in the city, and you're right. I could spend tons of money on.
And it's not even fruitful type of projects. They're real projects that need to happen.
Yeah.
For the city's future.
Absolutely.
And for the infrastructure of the community, and so much that needs to happen.
I look
in
around
my-
every day and say,
my
I could
neighborhood.
spend 20 here, 30 here, 10 here. I mean, every corner of the city I walk into. But I know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and I'll take my time and get through it all. But we have a plan, and we're working a plan, and I feel very comfortable that it's going to come to fruition. I think, a lot of people doubted this administration from day one, and I think we've surprised them every time we turn around, So, not to get into the whole political thing, but this is something that's good for the people. And it's not like we're lowering anyone's taxes. We're just reducing the burden on some people,
Right.
Those people who really own single-family homes that, we'll see, I think, I don't have it here, but we'll see the biggest reduction, right, from last year, from 16 to 17. I know from 20 to 25, they save about $100, but from 16 to 17, is it even a savings, or? It's 150 with the shift, savings. And then 2s and 3s, they really don't save as much. And people whose homes are valued at a certain number really actually get somewhat punished.
Okay. I mean, we could, again,
But this helps the
continue to talk
majority of
about
the
this,
people.
But we can agree to disagree respectfully on this matter.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, just want to point out that I have 3 more speakers that would like to ask. We still have to go through a public hearing. It's getting very close to 7 o'clock. A lot of these items that we're talking about are on our own calendar when we get to them, so I'm going to ask if we can maybe just sort of wrap it up a little bit, okay? So, Peter Napolitano, Councilor Peter Napolitano.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair, I'm sorry for being late tonight. Unfortunately, our full-time jobs sometimes draw us away on that. But a couple of things. Can you give us a rough idea of what kind of money has been transferred the past couple of years from stabilization to help give some tax relief?
Last year, right? Yeah. 1.8 last year, so $1 million was from free cash and 800 from stabilization last year. I know one year I think I transferred about $4 million. I think in maybe '09, '10, if you remember that. Somebody, anyone here from then? So, I mean, we've done it before. Never 8, but, 4, yeah. I've done 4
Right.
before. It's not out of the ordinary when you have a good fiscally sound community to do that.
And I can appreciate, because I would expect that the intent might be that I would be opposed to something like this.
No,
I want to let you know I'm exact opposite. Residents, taxpayers in the city have been asking for the past several years, since the wind development was approved.
Right.
When are we going to see the benefit? When are we going to see the benefit? I'll be honest, when I opened the packet last week and I saw that we were looking at $8 million, I was a little shocked because, to be honest with you, no offense to you, I expected a much lower amount.
All right.
This is not just a gesture. And the thing is, it is important to understand
You
that
say much lower amount?
I expected a lower amount
For me?
from you.
Yeah, low, yeah,
And publicly, I'll apologize to you for
Yeah.
that sentiment, but I
That's
have no
okay.
problem with sharing that with you because I think that it is a good amount. I think it's a step in the right direction. The taxpayers do need some relief because whether you rent or not,
Right.
what you pay is
affects
governed by the
renters, too.
tax rate. Homeowners in the city have to be able to maintain their properties, have to be able to pay their taxes. If you're renting, you have to be able to charge enough rent to be able to offset your overhead. And frankly, we haven't been able to do that for a long time. We're attracting a different caliber of people to the city now, and I think this is a step in the right direction. This is what the taxpayers have been looking for, is a little bit of a break. Now that money is coming in from the wind project, and because of the pieces in the paper, people know money's coming in.
Right.
So they're looking for a bit of a break.
Right.
I fully support that. Hey, if you want to throw more, I'm good with that too. But I'm satisfied.
Well, we plan
with
on doing
8.
something for water and sewer, so
Okay.
before we set that budget, we plan on doing something for,
But I really think this is
water
a step in the
repairs.
right direction, because we've been talking about this as a city council with you for a little while now, and I know you gave us a commitment during the budget hearings.
yes.
Like I said, I'm pleasantly surprised to see it's an amount that has some teeth, and, I will be supporting this.
Thank you.
Councilor Michael Mangan?
Thank you. Real briefly, thank you, Mr. President. I wholeheartedly agree with Council Napolitano. I mean, 15 years that I've been either running or been involved in government, this is, like I said, I think we're in fantastic shape, and I commend the mayor, like I said, because everyone knows, I understand Council McLaughlin's concerns, but where we are, where new growth is, we all know what's coming. It's not a pipe dream, like I said. And to sit here and put $8 million is absolutely outstanding. And also, Mr. Mayor, you just mentioned, which I know a lot of people have talked about it, like I said, is the water and sewer, and to put additional money towards the water and sewer, it is a win-win. To me, this is a home run, and I'll absolutely be voting 100% for it. Thank you.
Councilor Leo McKinnon, last councilor. Thank you, Mr. President. To Mr. Mayor, I had touched on this before. Our AA bonding, that won't be impacted by this $8 million, correct?
No, correct,
All right.
correct. We've,
And I spoke to Mr. Demus, so I know that we'll be putting in additional funding to the stabilization to cover anything that we're losing right now.
we are transferring,
Mr. Demus, could
how
you
much
just
they
come up
say
to answer that
do we already
real
do
quick?
that? I thought we already transferred. There's no more money's going to the stabilization fund, right? And there's-
Is there any additional funds going back into the stabilization fund?
What?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, 2 million. right?
There actually
Right, yeah,
is.
there is, yeah.
So, consistent with city policy, it's
Right.
basically 50% of what was ever certified as in free cash is transferred by percentage into the various stabilizations. So this year, we're transferring, and we'll have an order for you at a subsequent meeting, about 3.5 million.
Okay.
So I know the counselor was saying that we're using $1 million of stabilization, but the actual net number, we're increasing all of our stabilization funds by 2.3 million this
So
year.
we'll be gaining at that
We will be
point?
gaining
Okay.
this year.
And this won't impact the AA bonding or anything like that we're going to do for future
Make it
work
better,
or
actually.
anything to that effect?
Well, if anything, it's consistent to the commitment and the forecasting that we provided the last time we had a rating call, so.
So
We
should-
talked to him about what the mayor's plans were and what
Okay.
he was trying to do with the new revenue sources.
And then, what else did I have that we talked about? Was that the only fund that's going to be funded, is the stabilization?
No.
Or is it going to be different
Well,
funds
there's
going out?
three
Okay.
stabilizations, so it'll be
Yep.
our general stabilization, our capital stabilization, and our OPEB liability stabilization.
Okay,
So
and
we'll
those
be
will all
taking
be
a
funded?
percentage of all of those to be building up those reserves.
Okay. So I'll be voting for this tonight. Thank you.
Council McLaughlin?
Thank you, Mr. President. I absolutely understand the arguments of my colleagues, Council Mangan and Council Napolitano. The problem is, the mayor just said we're gonna do something for water and sewer. Then the school department's gonna come in and they're gonna ask for money for a deficit that they're seeing because of circumstances they couldn't control. We just talked last week about the park improvement down the 7-acre site. We've talked about so many other potential projects that we wanna try to fund. When does it stop? When is it enough? Mr. Demus said 2.3 million will be going into free cash next year. If we take $1 million out, that's really 1.3 million that goes. No. If we remove $1 million and add 2.3.
Stabilization.
No. The net number is 2.3 stabilization increasing this year. Because
we
we're
take $1
putting
million out this year.
we're putting 3.3 in. So you're taking, and the million is gonna be used right now, so your net number is going up 2.3 for this year. This year, not next year, this year, stabilization overall between the three is increasing $2.3 million, even using the 8 million, that's been recommended by the mayor.
Again, I'm not gonna delay this issue. I could argue the point all night, but I won't.
If we could please make a motion to excuse the
Thank you.
customary thanks.
Thank you.
And also make a motion to open this to a public hearing.
Okay, second. Motion made and second, open public hearing.
You're excused. Thank you.
If I'm, the public hearing, despite the discussion, the public hearing is whether or not the city should adopt a minimum residential factor of 0.624904, and a residential exemption of 25%. It has absolutely nothing, just so the public understands, it has nothing to do with the $8 million.
Other things we're talking about, right. So, then a motion made second, open a public hearing, all in favor? All opposed, so moved. Is there anyone in the audience that would, because this is a public hearing, that would like to speak on this matter, the matter of our reduction in the, how am I trying to say? Adopting the residential factor, and also the, from 20 to 25%. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak on that? Pro, con, doesn't matter. Anyone like to speak on it? Whew. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll declare that part of the public hearing closed. This should just be referred to our next meeting. Okay, yes, Councilman Capone.
If I may, the order is before us now.
Okay.
The order is. Yep. If I may, just as
Yes,
a point
Counsel.
of clarification, I think that we've got this, but are we, through you to our clerk, the ordinance is in front of us?
The order is before us at this meeting, yes.
Okay.
It does
So-
not appear on our agenda.
Okay, so the question I have is,
There's 7 o'clock.
is this something that we can vote on, or do we need to refer this to our next meeting?
No, we've, this is pretty routine. I mean, this is something we do absolutely every year,
Okay, so as long as it's routine,
as long as it's up to the president,
so the
however.
order is tonight, it will not be referred to our meeting, it'll be voted on.
We will be voting on the order right now,
Okay,
and I'll read the order if you'd like.
No reflection on Mr. Hart, but Mike and I think we both could run it.
absolutely. If we could please have the clerk read the order, so everyone
If you
knows
would.
what's going on.
Be it ordered by the City Council of the City of Everett as follows, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56, and Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5C, the City Council of the City of Everett hereby adopts a minimum residential factor of .624904 and a residential exemption of 25%.
Favorable action on the order.
Second motion.
Motion made, second, favorable action. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Nope.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please answer the roll.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Della Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky.
Yes.
Counsel McKinney.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
Yeas, 0 nays, you have passed the order. Make a motion to adjourn. Motion made and
If you may, you
seconded
make-
to
you
adjourn.
you-
All in favor? All opposed? We have adjourned. Well, I'll take a 5-minute break before we start our next meeting.
Councilors, if you all come in, you all must sign the acceptance of the residential factor. Yeah, so, okay.
And that's in your district, right?
That's it on that one, then number 20.
Yep.
No, is it 20?
And if you need anything from me.
20 or is this 23?
Okay, yeah, I'll be
22,
in.
right?
Yeah, I'll be in.
Oh, you got 22?
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Excellent,
yeah.
thank you.
That says 20. Yeah. Kenny Wall, Mount Washington Street. We got the, overall here today? We asked a lot of these already, though. We asked for it. Where is that? They're still up, okay. That's different than this, though, right? Separate, same thing? That's the, Valentino? So where is this? That's right, so up and down the whole, other side of the street. Yeah, that's a big spall in there. So,
Okay,
so that's part of this project? So this is the hospital, that's it? Washington, okay.
meeting will resume, please.
Yeah, okay.
Now resume, we'll start. Clerk will call the roll.
Counsel Capone.
Here.
Counsel Della Sola.
Here.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Here.
Counsel DePiero.
Present.
Counsel Mangan.
Here.
Counsel Matusky.
Here.
Counsel McKinnon.
Here.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Present.
Counsel Napolitano.
Here.
Counsel Simonelli.
Here.
Counsel Hanlon.
I'm present too.
11 members present, Mr. President.
We will, not pledge the flag, we've already done that. Clerk will please read the first item on the agenda.
Can you find my agenda?
Public hearing.
Open public participation.
You got a public.
Public hearing.
Oh, public hearing, that's right.
Item number 1 is a public hearing. 12 parties interested in a petition from National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated, requesting permission to locate poles, wires, fixes, including the necessary sustaining and protecting figures along and across Boston Street and Vale Street.
Is there anyone present from National Grid and/or Verizon? Oh, okay, someone's here. Would you please identify yourself?
Mike's already on, so you're all set.
Okay.
Please identify yourself, and then you can explain the petition.
Mary Ellen Murphy, National Grid, 170 Medford Street, Malden.
Would you explain what the petition is about?
Yeah, what we're doing here is, there's going to be a new building at 1760 Revere Beach Parkway, and it's going to be apartments and some retail. And the, on the street behind, there are poles that are JO poles that we share with Verizon. And they'll be too close to the building, so we're petitioning to move them across the street. And also to add a new pole right behind Wendy's on Vale Street. We'll also be adding a few anchors to these poles. And that will all be in the sidewalk across the street. What else? That's about it.
Okay, any questions to the, Council Matusky?
Thank you for being here this evening, Ms. Murphy. We appreciate when people actually come, when they have a petition before us. Verizon never does, but needless to say, I live pretty close to this location, and we've got, Mr. Cameron was here about, I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, and he said that he would take immediate action to fix some lights on Revere Beach Parkway. Since that time, nothing's been done. And, you know, I have a problem voting for, you know, and I want to see progress going on. Now, this building that you're talking about is going to be a mixed use, is that what it is, condominium?
Yeah, it's parking, it's apartments and retail.
So this, and what is there now, Ms. Murphy? What kind of building is it?
There's a couple of smaller buildings. This will take up most of that spot there. I'm not sure what's in the smaller buildings, to tell you the truth. I think
Okay.
they're empty.
Well, in the name of progress, I will actually vote for this because I know that whole area is being developed, but could you take some notes that a few street lights need to be fixed?
I will.
There's Craftsman Glass, I'm sure you know that location on the Parkway. There's a stump there,
Let me see if I got a pen.
right to the right with an orange cone on it for the last 4 years.
Counselor?
Oh, it's an underground.
This is the Harley Davidson building.
It's the Harley Davidson building? Okay, well, you need a pen, Miss
Yeah.
Murphy? Would you pass that, Shane? That's one location, Mr. President. I appreciate you letting me do this because I actually had I called Miss McCory the other day. The street light at Lewis and 2nd Street, where the crosswalk is, has been out now for almost 2 years. They repaired it. It worked for a couple of days, and the light bulb was actually hanging out of the fixture. That's at Lewis Street in Revere Beach Parkway at a crosswalk, which is very dangerous in that area, Mr. President. And across the street, next to Richie Slush, there's another stump where a street light was knocked out 2 years ago. That's 3 locations, right in a small perimeter there. Will you be putting street lights on the new poles? Is that how it works?
Are they underground streetlights?
No, no, these are up above ground street. These are actual street lights.
I actually have to look at them.
The stumps you're talking about?
The stumps?
Well, the pieces of metal that's sticking out of the sidewalk. The ones that I just told you needed to be repaired.
Oh, yeah, that's why I thought they were underground streetlights.
No, they were a regular pole.
Oh, so it's like a double pole, but it's just a
No,
stump?
these are street lights that go on at dusk.
Right,
Need to be, 2 of them need to be replaced, and 1 needs a new bulb.
okay.
And the other thing, Miss Murphy, is that the poles that you're moving here, will they have street lights on them? That's a very dark area, and I was just concerned, I know that the city of Everett took some responsibility on street poles, street lights. We're paying the electricity. Okay. Do you know that, Miss Murphy?
I don't know what's on them right now. If they have streetlights
You'll
on them now,
keep them on?
we'll keep them on.
Okay. If you can address those 3 areas.
What was the first one again? I'm sorry.
First one was next to Craftsman's Glass on the sidewalk. It's actually unsafe for people on a bike or walking or whatever.
Okay.
There's a metal with, I think it has an orange cone if it's still there. That's a 4-year and a 5-year debacle. Richie Slush one was hit by a car 2 years ago. It's in between a jewelry store and Richie Slush. And the last one has been on and off for the last 4.5 years. I understand you people got a bad pallet of light bulbs a few years ago.
I don't know.
And they were all blinking throughout the city. And
Is that right? I don't know.
Mr. Cameron mentioned at one of the
I
meetings.
can speak to him tomorrow, actually.
Well, thank you for addressing those issues.
Okay.
And I actually will give you a copy of what my our secretary had sent to Mr. Cameron. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any further questions? Councilor Capone, sorry, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to our guest. I don't know if you had already said this, so I apologize if you're repeating yourself. You're looking for permission to locate poles. Do we have a number, how many poles you're looking for that general area?
Okay, I'm moving 3 across the street. They abut that building so close that it's a dangerous situation. You can't have wires that close to a building. And then I'm adding another pole, pole 7, behind Wendy's on Vale Street.
Okay, so there's only an additional 1 pole, 3 are being relocated.
Yeah, the others
Okay.
are being relocated. And then there's a pole in front of, what street is this? This is 82 Boston Street. And pole to the right of Wendy's, I'm adding anchors to.
Okay, and that's the totality of the project?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, but before I relinquish the floor, if I may, Mr. President, if you could please leave your contact information with our clerk this evening, because as has been stated by one of the councilors, there are quite a few light issues that I've actually been working on for quite some time, being
Okay.
told that we need state troopers because they're on Route 16, and it's pretty frustrating that we can't get through to someone and get things taken care of. So if you could leave your contact information.
This will be on Boston Street, though, it won't be on
Right.
Revere Beach.
No, no, I'm
Oh,
talking about
okay.
existing light poles. It's
Oh,
not
I see
germane
what
to
you're saying,
tonight.
yeah,
But
okay.
if you could please leave your contact information,
Mhm.
so we have someone we could reach out to when we have an outage. I
All
would
right.
appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any further questions? If I may, for the chair, I have, every single council here can tell you a story, not a good story either, about our light poles and our fixtures in the city of Everett. We have asked Verizon, the National Grid and Verizon on the JO poles, to take some steps in correcting these actions. And this hasn't gone on for 6 months. This has gone on for 6 and more years.
Mhm.
It's been a long time. Our voices go unheard. No one listens to us. No one pays any attention to us. We have been saying, kids together, when we talk together and everything, when they come in here, just tell them they can't get anything. We don't want them back in the city until they do something that we have been asking them to do for years and years and years. And please take that back to Mr. Cameron and tell him we're so displeased with him, we don't even want to talk to him. So that gives you an idea of how this council feels about the Verizon and the National Grid, okay? So I'm not yelling at you, please, this is your first visit with us, but please take that message back and tell them how really displeased we are with National Grid. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, gentlemen, I just had to say that. Rosa, I'm Councilor Toflorio.
Mr. Chairman, why are we voting on this? The only way we're gonna send these people a message.
It's a new building.
I understand it's a new building, let the new building go after them and say why they voting no, go fix all the lights. You know, sometimes we have to stick to our words and send the message the right way. Unfortunately, they keep getting away with it because they know we're not gonna say no. We don't want the growth to stop in the city. And it's not fair to the business people to suffer because of them. But I think enough is enough. Everywhere in the city, there's no lights. Every street in the city of Everett, there's no lights. Double poles that they don't take down, okay? They just choose not to listen to us, but they have no problem raising their bills for the taxpayers in the city of Everett. I'm tired of them, and I am voting no on this tonight. I'm sorry, thank you.
Councilor McLaughlin.
I couldn't agree more with Councilor DeFlorio. I think we need to take a stance. Unfortunately, none of us want to hurt another business, and there's an individual or a project that's in the middle of this, but we do need to take a stance. There is light poles and issues across this whole entire city. One at the bottom of my street in Ward 6, Baldwin Ave, is completely dark because National Grid has been over 2 years. I talked to Mr. Cameron about it, and he tells me it's going to get fixed. I don't know what else can be done other than the fact that we need to take a tough stand to show National Grid and other providers that are not willing to come to the city and to live up to their expectations that we're not going to take it any longer. So I think it's time that we take a tough stand and we vote no on this tonight collaboratively and allow them to come out and respond to some of our needs, and then we'll be willing to support their petitions when they come before us. Until that time, I'll be voting on this as well.
Okay, any further comments? I'm sorry, Peter, yes.
Thank you. You know, I've had a mind of this for a long time, that these are two separate issues. But the more I listen to my colleagues here, I tend to agree. Some of us have been doing this a long time, and when we ask for request for some service, and we're getting basically lip service. Now, I apologize to you because this is your first time up here, and I do apologize that we're venting this on. But the frustrations of the city council has been growing as these problems have continued to increase, and we're getting a lot of lip service as to what will fix it, but nothing fixes. So really, the only tool that we have in response is whether we pass or not pass one of these orders. So I'm going to break from my normal stand of these are two separate issues, and I will support those that are not going to be voting for this. And I do apologize, and I apologize to the contractors down at this development. But the bottom line is that, National Grid is getting its way, and we're continuing to get lip service, and we still have a growing number of double poles. We have a growing number of lights going out, and, yeah, our bills are not going down. So I will be joining with my colleagues who just spoke, and I will not be supporting this until we see some results. I'm an actions person. Actions speak louder than words. I have had enough of the words. So if that's the only message we can send to Mr. Cameron and above, then that's what we'll have to do. So, thank you.
Any further discussion? Yes, Councilman Matusky?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just I checked my mailbox, and this is addressed to our city services director, or one of the departments down there. Dear Mr. Noonan, hope all is well. Would you be so kind on behalf of Councilor Matusky to get the street light at the corner of Lewis Street and the Revere Beach Parkway at the crosswalk fixed and in working order? It's not working and hanging and unsafe for pedestrians. If you could direct this to the proper authorities, it would be appreciated. But, you know, we don't have any communication with your company anymore as far as repairing and fixing lights in this community. It's an ongoing issue. As our president said, it's very frustrating. This is the first time I've met you, I believe. And it's no reflection on you. I just want you to know that. But Verizon is on this petition too. Why don't we lay this on the table, Mr. President, this item, and have Verizon and National Grid here together, because both of you are responsible for the double pole issue in this community. Both companies, I should say. And I think that if one petition is not here and one is, it's not fair to National Grid, it's not fair to us. Let's get Verizon in here, and along with you, maybe you could come back. But I'm not going to vote for it tonight, Ms. Murphy, only because it's unfair of the practices that your company does in our community. There's a lot of work being done in this city with the casino and so forth, and the development. We've got to get on the right track and start fresh. There's got to be somebody that can. We got more stuff, construction going on in this community than anywhere else, and we're going to need a little help here as council members. So my suggestion is to lay this on the table, and if Verizon doesn't come and you don't come, or one or the other, we'll just keep laying it on the table until both parties are here, so you both understand where we're coming from. I think that's probably a fair, rather than vote no. Thank you.
Chairman, I believe we have to open it to a public hearing before we make any motions. So,
Thank you. This is the chance that the audience gets to speak on this particular matter, and if you would like to come forward, hold on for a minute. If anyone would like to come forward and speak on this, I'm going to ask for this in two parts. Those of you that are in favor of the petition, and then those that are opposed to the petition. So right now, is there anyone that would like to speak on this subject matter that is in favor of this petition? And I'm going to ask three times. Is there anyone in favor of this petition? Is there anyone in favor of this petition? I now declare that part of the public hearing closed. Now the other side. Is there anyone opposed to this petition? If there, yes, ma'am, if you would like to please come forward. She raised her hand first. Come forward, come forward.
Do I have to move?
My name is Brenda Howard, and I live on Valley Street.
We give you a chair and everything. Sit right there.
Okay. Hi, my name's Brenda Howard, and I live on Valley Street. And it's well over a year ago that they started to replace the poles on Valley Street, and they didn't complete them, so we have double poles. And on the corner of Baldwin Street this summer, they started to do more work, and I drive by that corner of Baldwin Street every day, and there are all these wires and kind of transformer things down at my waist level almost. Like, kids can touch that stuff, and I don't know if it's dangerous or not, but it's incomplete. It's been incomplete for 5 months, and the double poles have been there for a year and a half. So I didn't even know this was going to come up tonight because I'm here for something else. But I just wanted to say that because it is concerning when I drive by and I see all that, and the wires hanging down, you know? So that's all I have to say, but thank you.
Excuse me, miss, she's not the chairman, but you can come up anyway. Well, it's an important meeting. I'll tell you about
Tricia Rogers, Inglewood Ave, Everett. I just want to add that I know when I call National Grid about a pole light that's out, I usually go to the pole, get the number. When I'm driving on the Revere Beach Parkway, from Richie Slush all the way to that rotary of the Gateway Mall, there's several lights out. And I don't know who you call or how do you explain that, because there's just random lights out along that entire strip. So I just wanted to add that to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Michael, you take that.
We had, some time ago, passed an ordinance that says whenever Verizon or National Grid or anyone that owns a pole comes into this city, they must also come in with signed documents from every single renter that uses that pole, whether it's cable, whether it's telephone, whether it's fiber optics, or whoever it is, indicating that when they will, because, you know, when you put up a new pole, the electric company comes and puts it in, they put their electricity on it. All those other wires you see are the ones from the telephone company and so forth that don't move them. So this ordinance that we put in was to say that they have to put it in, or there'd be a nice husky fine for them. And we're gonna look that up. We'll have that ready for the next meeting, but we did pass that. And we're gonna put that into action from that one. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that and interrupt the meeting, but on the public hearing, is there any, sorry folks, is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? And the third time, is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? I declare now declare that part of the public hearing closed.
Make a
Councilor
motion to
Capone.
close public hearing.
Councilor Capone.
So we've closed the public hearing, correct?
Pardon?
Okay,
Public
it's
hearing's
been
closed.
closed. Mr. President, as you well know, we've all felt the frustration with regard to National Grid. I think it was a couple of years ago, I had a stack of pole lights that had been out that we provided to Mr. Cameron. One of the individuals came up and spoke about the street lights being out, been out forever. Councilman Matusky talks about the corner of Lewis in the Parkway. That's been out for years.
Yeah.
I've requested it, he's requested it, I'm sure Council Politano has requested, I'm sure others in this room have requested it. Going from that street, 16 West, there are 4 lights out before you get to the off-ramp. So it's ridiculous. And I would caution my councilors, although I understand the frustration, I would caution against a no vote this evening. We're biting our nose off to spite our face because we're impacting people who are trying to have growth in the community. What I would recommend is if we could refer this to a committee of the whole, invite a representative from National Grid, a representative from Verizon. Let's have a real dialogue, speak with these folks, let them know exactly what our frustration level is. And at that point, if we put it out there and we don't have a more streamlined process to get lights taken care of, I have absolutely no problem voting no on everything that comes before us after that. But in fairness to the people who are doing work and making an investment in the community, in the growth of this community, I don't want a no vote this evening. So I'm going to ask that we refer it to a committee of the whole and we invite a representative from both of those organizations.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Michael McLaughlin.
I would normally agree with Councilor Capone on his sentiments that he just gave, but reading this tonight, I don't think that this work would need to be done until the later part of this phase of project that's being proposed. So with that being said, I think that we have plenty of time to be able to hold a stance here and to make this known that it is an important issue that we're not taking as a joke any longer. If this was going to impact the project from moving forward, I would absolutely agree with Councilor Capone that it's not fair to the individual developer to do this. But I believe that this doesn't have that impact at this time. And I think we have time to be able to take this stand and to be able to bring this back before us at some point at a later date, after they come to the city and meet our requirements or our demands to have results in the city.
Thank you. Councilor Rosa DeFlorio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand there's a lot of issues here with the double polling. I'm willing to give them a chance on the double polling. It's the lights that are out. All they have to do is send a truck. It's not gonna take more than 2 or 3 days to change those lights, okay? So the bottom line is, we can hold this, but either way, I'm voting no on it. If I'm voting on this tonight, I'm voting no. But I will give the opportunity to hold it for 2 weeks so they can change the lights. But in 2 weeks, if I go around the city of Everett and those lights are not changed, this is definitely a no vote. I'll just give them the courtesy, because of the business people, to hold it for 2 weeks until our next meeting. Okay? But other than that, and if the lights are not fixed at that time, I would definitely vote no on everything they come in front of us.
Just for the sake of us knowing what's going on, indicate what lights we're talking about?
Every one of them in the city, every phone call they received in the past year.
Okay.
Every phone call they received in the past year. It's not just Ward 1, it's every ward, it's every street in the city of Everett. Glendale Street, Walnut Street, Waverly Street, okay? Every one of them. They send a couple of trucks out, it takes 5 minutes to change those light bulbs.
Thank you.
So the double poles we'll set aside, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Thank you,
Councilor
Mr.
Capone?
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, whichever way my colleagues want to go with regards to either laying it on the table or referring it to a committee in the whole, a no vote tonight, basically you lose all your leverage because there's a petition here, and if you vote no, nobody's coming here. If you hold it over with an invitation, or if you put it into a committee of the whole, you have an invitation that's gone out. Either they show or they don't show. If they don't show, you vote no. If they show, you have a frank communication. But if you vote flatly no this evening, there is no other piece in front of us, and there's no, you'd have to set up a whole separate piece to ask someone to come here, and you'd be losing a lot of time. So I'm agreeable to either laying it on the table to our next meeting or committee of the whole.
Councilor McKinnon?
Through you, Mr. President, maybe we should lay this over to the first meeting in December, and then have all parties that are on these polls here in front of us, so that we've already had this before. It's old, it's old hash that we're going over. It's been 10 years in the making, but sometimes you get one to come, then you don't get the other ones to come. We want them all here, or they're all going to be impacted, and that's the letter that we need to send out to them. We don't need to send a nicey-nice letter like we have done in the past. We need to send a directive letter to them to let them know that we are actually considering to make sure that everything will be voted on no when they come before us again. So it needs to be firm, it needs to be hard tone, and that's what we need to do. And certified to them to make sure that they are here at that meeting. And I think December would be probably, the first meeting in December would probably give them time enough to be here.
We'll do that when we have motions made and we find out what the date's gonna be and so forth. Councilor Matusky?
That's
Who
a
seconded the
motion. That's a motion.
Oh, you spoke? Yeah, I got you now. You're next.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with Councilor McKinnon. I think 2 weeks is maybe a little short. Not to mention, Mr. President, there are two petitioners on this order here, Verizon of New England and National Grid. Now, we have National Grid here, and we don't have Verizon. This has been the issue that we've been talking about for the last couple of years here. And also, it's not fair to this Ms. Murphy, who was here as a representative, and I'm sorry to say that this is the first time I've met her, but we have some difficulties here with all the construction. You see police details all over the city. We need to fix what we've got before we can move forward with some of this stuff, because the Parkway, as the woman here just stated, Revere Beach Parkway is in darkness. I thought my vision was going the other night. I thought I was having eyesight problems, Mr. President. It's very dark. It's been dark in this community. And a gentleman was up here and said that he was very sorry that the city of Everett received a bad pallet of light bulbs. Do you remember that? Anybody? So, I mean, this is almost I don't want to say a joke, but it's getting to the point where they don't, no other city around here is like this. I don't get it. So I agree, if we put this on the agenda for the first meeting in December, give them 4 weeks to do some work on the Parkway and throughout this community to make it a safer place. And I would recommend that, and I think it's 4 weeks is plenty of time to do that work. And we want Verizon also to be here. And we can, and if we do have a special committee of the whole, let's put it on a Monday night at 6 o'clock. So that we're not talking, this is for the clerk of committees to hear, because, you know, let's have it on a Monday night where we're going to be here anyway at 6 p.m. Let's not inconvenience the membership completely here for the behest of National Grid or Verizon, who doesn't even show up. That's my feelings on it. Thank you.
Councilor Anthony DePiero.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to pretty much echo what some of my colleagues have said, I feel that this should be in a committee of the whole meeting, possibly first or second week of December, because voting no on this tonight would not allow this project to go forward for another 2 years, and that would certainly be delaying the development and what they're trying to do on that site. So voting no is not the way to go this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Megan, are you making a motion? Did you make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion
Committee of the
to
whole?
refer this to the first committee, the first Monday of December for a committee of the whole meeting.
I got both of them anyway, so go ahead. Councilor Peter Napolitano.
You said me.
You're next. Then Richard. Councilor Napolitano? Are you all set? Okay. Councilor Michael Mangan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I echo what Council DePiero just said 100%. You know, let's work with them, but like I said, I also agree with Council McKinnon. We have to send them a strong message. So I think the appropriate thing would be the first meeting in December, as Council Matusky said, having a committee of the whole meeting at 6 o'clock. And like I said, I just want to echo it so people know. And I'll second his motion.
Second his motion. Anyway, Councilor Richard Delasola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do we know if National Grid's even responsible for the lights on the Parkway? That might be DCR. Are they responsible for the lights? We have to find that out also?
I would think so. I would think, but I don't know. Maybe this young lady can tell us.
That was something I was going to look into. I'm not sure if we're responsible or not for those.
Correct.
Thank you.
Just as a point of information, I can answer that question if you want.
He's got the floor.
Okay.
Counselor, your floor.
Oh, thank you.
No. You have the floor, Richard. Are you finished?
I might have the answer right here.
Councilor Matusky.
Absolutely, the lights are maintained and so forth by National Grid.
Okay.
Because I've had assurances over the years that they'd be fixed, and of course, here we are tonight, but,
Do you have a list of those?
well, I gave you 3 that I know of. I think that if your company sent somebody in a truck at nighttime on the Revere Beach Parkway or in this community, you'd find hundreds of lights out. But maybe you can do that, Ms. Murphy. Maybe you can do, before the first week in December, our meeting in December. We expect to see some results between now and then. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I'll have to find out what those lights are.
Well, it's pretty, Revere Beach Parkway is only a small area, but as you heard the woman here say in the audience, there's 5 or 6 lights out.
Well, the ones you gave me.
Yes, those are pretty, they're in front of landmarks. Richie Slush is like a landmark.
I'll speak to the woman after the.
Craftsman Glass is a landmark area. Okay? We're giving you a chance to do the right thing before the first week in December. That's the way I feel.
Mr. Chairman, can we call for the question? Please.
Motion made. Is that call for question? All in favor? All opposed? So moved. Call for question. The motion is to refer to the first meeting in December at 6 o'clock to have a committee of the whole. Just need a caution. Do you think an hour is going to be enough time on this? You think so? Now is the okay? Okay. Motion for the first meeting in December at 6 o'clock, Monday. All in favor? All opposed? So moved. You have referred. Thank you.
So it's not passed.
Okay, item number 2 is a similar thing, although we have to go ahead with the public hearing. So,
No, what, someone
Item number 2 is a petition from National Grid to construct a line of underground electric conduits, including necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures under and across the public way-of-ways hereinafter named, that is Kelvin Street and Norman Street.
Good evening.
you are the petitioner, sir?
Yes, I have the petition here.
Please identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Tim Williamson of Leidos Incorporated on behalf of National Grid at 170 Medford Street in Malden, Massachusetts. I am here on behalf of the Kelvin Street petition to add approximately 5 feet of 2 5-inch encased PVC conduits from the National Grid substation to the existing pole 1166 on Kelvin Street.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Mr. President, thank you. I'm not going to the issue again with this gentleman, but I think we should also hold this item over until the December meeting is held with the public hearing. I'll be truthful with you, right? I've got about 10 text messages in the last 20 minutes from constituents telling me what lights are out in this city. There is a demand that we get lights fixed in the city before we do any sign-off for any of these projects going forward. So I'm going to make a motion right now that we table this item till the first meeting of December.
I know we have.
I apologize, Michael.
That's
Thank you
okay.
both.
That's okay.
I'll hold my motion.
Fred, Councilor Capone, Councilor Capone.
I'd like to excuse the customary thanks unless there's any other questions.
I have a
So we
question.
can open up the public hearing.
Any other further questions?
I have a question, if I could, Mr. President. Mr. Williams, it says here, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures under and across the public way. Is there going to be something on the sidewalk?
No, this would be fully underground. It's when, that's just kind of the language for when they frame it up, they put a forming in, and they have little spacers in the conduit to, and they encase it with concrete to protect.
Well, I noticed that some people, some streets in Everett have these boxes. You just heard the woman say there's something, is her height on a pole? I don't know what it is, but.
If I'm familiar with that general area, and I believe what she was seeing in that case on Valley and Baldwin was, it's mainly ropes and rigging gear, because they're rebuilding that section, so they're running new conductors in. And when they
So
do
it's
that,
temporary.
and when they do that, it's temporary. It's just during construction, and the things that hang down are just ropes.
But there are some boxes in this community in front of people's homes, and our businesses.
There are switch gears
And those are really,
transformers, depending on the infrastructure.
kind
in
of
the
an
area.
inconvenience. So there's not going to be any of that
No,
on
this is, you won't even see it. There won't be anything there. Any work on the sidewalk, they'll replace full
It's
concrete
all under the
panels.
ground?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, and if I would just note one thing on earlier, I think I'll have to ask Dan Cameron to do a little research on some of the street lighting, but I believe certain sections of Route 16 and Revere Beach Parkway, there are DCR lights, so we'd have to do a little research. I don't know which sections. I haven't worked internally with the operations guys in a while, but I know at one point when I used to work directly for National Grid.
Well, maybe you want to give them that information for the December.
Yeah,
the first
I'll
week.
give Dan a call tomorrow.
Okay, you have a question?
I'm sure he had something else, otherwise he would have been here this evening.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Nope.
Thank you,
Excuse
Counselor.
customary thanks.
Motion to open it to public hearing.
Motion made and seconded to open up the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing goes over. We're going to ask 3 times, is anyone in favor of this petition? I will also ask them 3 times, is anyone opposed to this petition? We'll take those in favor first. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this matter on a favorable condition? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to talk favorably on this petition? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to talk favorably on this petition? Hearing none, close that part of the hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak opposed to this petition? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition of this petition? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to this petition? Hearing none, I declare that part of the hearing also. Fred, you would next?
Thank you, Mr. President. If we could, I'd like to refer this item to that committee of the whole meeting as well.
Second,
First in December?
yes.
Motion made and second to refer the subject matter to the first meeting in December to invite the petitioner. And anyone else? Just the petitioner? That's it, okay.
No,
And
don't we
invite
want-
the petitioner.
We want the companies here, I thought.
Yeah, it's just the additional piece.
Okay, so you want National Grid to be here? Okay, all right. So, Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, so moved. You have done that. Okay. We're up to number 3, by the way.
Mr.
Make a
President,
motion to
point-
open our
Point of
public-
personal privilege, I think we were remiss if we could please have a moment of silence for Ella O'Donnell, who passed away, police officer Dennis O'Donnell's daughter.
Could we please stand?
Make a motion to open public participation.
Motion made, second, open public participation. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You have open up public participation. Is there anyone on the list? Do we have anybody?
I don't have anybody on the list, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any matter whatsoever before the city council? Anything at all?
Make a motion to close public participation.
Motion made, second, to close public hearing. All in favor? Public participation. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? You have so.
So
you can go
please
home.
suspend the rules and take items 4, 5, and 10 collectively.
What about number 3?
No, 4, 5, and 10 of appointees.
Those are all
You want to suspend the rules and take items 4, 5, and 10? Second on that, anyone?
Put them out of order.
Second.
Out of order.
Motion
Out
made
of
and
order.
second to suspend the rule, take items 4, 5, and 6
Yeah, because
collectively. All in
10, I
favor,
know.
signify by saying aye.
4, 5, and 10. Thank you, Mr. President.
Take items 4, 5, and 10. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, so moved. Clerk, will please read item number 4.
Item number 4 is an order sponsored by Council John F. Handler as president. I hereby submit for your approval the appointment of Ann W. Wisniewski to the Council of Aging for a 3-year term expiring November 2019.
Motion made and second for favorable action. Councilor Capone.
If we could we suspend rule number 20?
Second.
You have suspend, motion made and second to suspend rule 20. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You have suspended rule 20.
Favorable action.
And we, motion for favorable action. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So you have, oh, this is an item, sorry, roll call.
Council Capone.
Yes.
Council Delasola.
Yes.
Council DeFlorio.
Yes.
Council DePiero.
Yes.
Council Mangan.
Yes.
Council Matusky.
Yes.
Council McKinnon.
Yes.
Council McLaughlin.
Yes.
Council Napolitano.
Yes.
Council Simonelli.
Yes.
Council Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays,
11
Mr.
yeas,
President.
0 nays. You have passed the order. This is the policeman.
Yes.
Clerk, will read item number 5.
Item number 5 is an order sponsored by Council John F. Hanlon as president that a police lateral transfer for Chad Herrera to the Everett Police Department is hereby approved.
Favorable action.
Second.
Motion made and second for favorable action. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, will answer the roll.
Council Capone.
Yes.
Council Delasola.
Yes.
Council DeFlorio.
Yes.
Council DePiero.
Yes.
Council Mangan.
Yes.
Council Matusky.
Yes.
Council McKinnon.
Yes.
Council McLaughlin.
Yes.
Council Napolitano.
Yes.
Council Simonelli.
Yes.
Council Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
You have passed the order. Will the officer please come forward to be sworn in?
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Chad Herrera.
I, Chad Herrera,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
To faithfully and impartially.
to faithfully and impartially
Discharge and perform.
discharge and perform
All the duties incumbent upon me.
all the duties incumbent upon me
Police officer for the city of Everett.
as a police officer of the city of Everett,
To the best of my abilities and understanding.
to the best of my ability and understanding,
Agreeably to the rules,
with the rules,
ordinances,
ordinances,
and charter
and charter
of the city of Everett.
of the city of
So
Everett.
help me God.
So help me God.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to faith and allegiance
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
to the Commonwealth of
and
Massachusetts,
support the laws and Constitution of the Commonwealth.
according to the laws and Constitution of the Commonwealth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly
that I
swear
will bear true faith and allegiance
to bear faith and allegiance
to the United States of America,
to the United States of America,
support the Constitution
support the Constitution
of the United States.
of the United
So
States.
help me God.
So help me God.
One's yours, one's mine.
Counselor. Taking photos of you. Yeah, let's move this for us. Feel me tripping over something?
My phone's dying, so you might have to.
Me neither. I don't even know what I'm doing right now.
Item number 10 is an order sponsored by Councilor John F. Handler as president, subject to confirmation by the Honorable Board of Aldermen. The following individual, Lexi Garcia, Michael J. Horgan IV, Jason Flynn, Bruce McAllister, Daniel H. Mailhut, are hereby appointed as as special police officers in the Everett Auxiliary Department, Police Department. These appointments shall be for an unpaid term of 1 year, expiring November 2017. Yeah. Did I?
Yeah.
I said Board of Aldermen, wow, City Council.
Same thing. Motion made, seconded, favorable action. Any further discussion? All in favor?
So much for the memory thing. Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Delasola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky. Counsel McKinnon.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon. 10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
Gentlemen, please come forward to be sworn in.
Four or five, I think. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear to faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as an auxiliary police officer for the city of Everett, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules, regulations, ordinances, and charter of the city of Everett. So help me God. I do solemnly swear to bear true faith and allegiance to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and support the laws and Constitution of the Commonwealth. So help me God. I do solemnly swear to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States of America and support the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations.
Okay, you're gonna have a hard time getting around. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Good luck, gentlemen. Good luck. Move on to the- Congratulations, guys. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Thank you for all of this.
There we go.
How's Vernal Street these days?
So you've been all right?
Not too bad.
Thank you, sir. Go to the hall. Don't go anywhere, just go outside. Excellent. Yeah. We will.
Okay. Oh, because you're do what you
like with it. But that's why I gave you the
Item number 3 on the agenda, please.
No idea. Item number 3 is an order sponsored by Council John F. Hanlon as president. The sum of $72,000 be transferred from budgetary fund balance to the following accounts to fund 50% of the new clinician and program coordinator positions in the health department. Salary $43,094, health insurance $21,412, and Medicare $7,494.
Councilor Anthony DePiero.
I just wanted to be brief very quickly, Mr. Chairman. I want to say how pleased I am to see this on the agenda tonight. When we first started the Special Opioid Crisis Committee of the Council, this is certainly one of our main goals, and along with the work of Chairman Leo McKinnon, Councilor McKinnon, Councilors Mangan and McLaughlin on the committee, and the support of my colleagues for getting the committee going. This is a positive step. This is something that's very needed. I want to thank the mayor's administration, along with Patty Ann Scalisi, who's here from Everett Overcoming Addiction, her family, Deanna Cutlip, who have all advocated for this, and thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Yes, Councilor McKinnon?
I just want to say... I just want to say, through you, Mr. President, thank you to basically Catherine Rollins. She was the one that found the grant. Our committee, as you had already mentioned, Everett Overcoming Addiction, Patty Ann Scalise. Without her actually pushing us forward, we probably wouldn't have got these two positions. And I look forward to working with them. There's still more work to do, and we're going to be very busy in the next coming years. I want to thank the administration and also the mayor as well. So for this, that's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Kelly. Any further comments? I'm sorry, no, Rosa next.
Mr. Chairman, the question I have is, do we have to wait to our next meeting to vote on this? I'm not quite sure.
Yes, I would say so.
Okay.
The new office.
So I just want the people that are here to understand that according to our charter, we have to wait 2 weeks to vote on this, not because we're against it. So the vote will take effect in 2 weeks. All right, thank you.
Councilor Mangan?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I know Council DePiero and McKinnon already spoke about this, but Mr. President, this goes towards you. You know, and I mentioned in the last committee meeting, I want to thank you for, you know, honestly, when you put this committee together, you know, I'm honored and privileged to be on this, because being on this committee, and I think, you know, where we are now, the difference that we're making and where we're going to continue to make growing, is wonderful. So I want to thank you, like I said, because this is something that really goes to the heart. It's a big problem here in the city of Everett, and it affects so many people. And trying to make a positive difference, and like I said, in being asked to serve on this committee, and with, you know, 3 other gentlemen, and doing such great work with all the other people that have attended, and people like Patty and Deanna and stuff like out there, and all the other people that have come in front of us. Again, I want to thank you, like I said, and I mean, if I'm fortunate enough, I'd love to be on this again next year, but thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Yes, Councilman?
I do just want to echo the comments of my colleagues. It's been a true pleasure and an honor to serve in this committee, and I look forward to the great work under Chairman McKinnon's leadership in the future and working with my friends that are behind me to my left. It's been a real good collaborative effort with the administration to do something that was really, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to get it off the ground when we first started, but it's hit a home run and it's done better than anybody really had expected. So I look forward to the future working together on this. Thank you.
On the motion, the matters to be laid over for a 2-week period. All in favor? All opposed? So moved.
Suspend the rules, take item number 18, please.
I got, Chris, Fred, take 22. Oh, all right, okay, 18 first, then 22. Clerk will read item number 18.
Item number 18 is committee report for the Special Opioid Crisis Committee to discuss setting up a program to do outreach in the community with a recommendation request the mayor is appropriate $6,000 to fund the training of 10 individuals to become recovery coaches.
Councilman McKenna.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. This came through discussion that we had at our last meeting. The motion was made by Councilman Mangan to produce this, and we all were in favor of this, reason being this came from Malden, Mr. Paul Hemsley, but it also was echoed from Everett Overcoming Addiction as well. So this is just another piece to the puzzle that we're going to have to go after here and actually make sure that this comes true. So I'll yield because I know Councilman Mangan, Councilman DePiero, and Councilman McLaughlin probably have things to say about it as well.
Councilman Mangan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Like I said, again, I want to thank Paul Hammersley with their came. And like I said, and really enlightened us at this last meeting with this information, like I said. And so if anybody that doesn't know, for my fellow councils and then people that may be home watching that didn't get to see that meeting, basically what we're going to be doing is, it's a week session. I believe they have to go out to Worcester. And we'll pay for the people, and then they'll get certified to become recovery coaches. So they would be on call. And, you know, God forbid somebody had an issue or an overdose or something like that, they would be properly trained to go out there and handle the situation. Also, beyond this, you know, this is something we'll look also maybe down the road, is that the people that do get certified for this recovery coach, you can continue to go on. And maybe with the help of the city, we can maybe even get a couple individuals to do even more certification so they can even become more advanced at dealing with these situations. So that's why this was a no-brainer. And again, I want to thank my fellow, you know, councils on there for support. And this is, again, this is the great work we do in this community, and it's so, it's just, like I said, to me, it's my favorite committee that I've ever been on, and I want to thank you again, and you know, I'll yield to anybody else. Thank you.
Councilman McLaughlin.
I was really impressed by the meeting that we had last week with the individuals that came here from the city of Malden, Paul Hamsley and the school committee member that came to talk with us and to offer a hand to make this an issue that's collaboratively around the surrounding areas. We all know this isn't an issue in one community, and it won't be fixed in one community. But the collaboration that we've been able to build in the surrounding communities, whether it was Medford or Malden or others, has been truly overwhelming and an experience that I won't forget either, like Council Mangan said. I couldn't agree more or urge my councilors stronger to be able to vote on this piece tonight and to vote favorably for something that I think is overdue, but it is going to be something that is going to be beneficial and utilized so much. I could talk about it forever, but I won't. I just ask that my colleagues support us tonight and vote favorably upon this. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion made, second, favorable action. Any further discussion?
This is actually going to be put down to the mayor's office. Refer to the mayor's office?
Make motion refer to the mayor's office?
Yes.
Motion made, second, refer to the mayor's office?
With the report back as well.
You can't
And when?
tell them to report back.
Next meeting.
And report back by our next meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? So moved. You have so referred and so requested a report. That's 18, 20.
No, that's it. Mr. President, could you suspend the rules and take item number 22?
Motion made, second, take item 22. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Item 22, clerk, will you please read item?
Item number 22 is an order sponsored by Council John F. Hanlon as president in order to effectuate land transfer of Nathan Line Playground to Everett Redevelopment Authority.
Recommend favorable action on the order.
Motion for favorable action. Motion made, second for favorable action. And Michael McLaughlin, please.
Yeah. I didn't think that would.
I would like to see if we can have maybe the mayor come up to answer a couple of questions regarding this item, if that's okay, please.
Mr. Mayor, would you please come forward? Mayor DiMaria? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for appearing this evening. Mr. Mayor, could you just explain briefly, because I was a little confused the last time we had this before us. So prior to doing this land transfer, we have leased this land out to Suffolk Construction. Is that correct?
Not Suffolk, right? Suffolk or Wayne? That's correct.
And we're able to do that because it is declared at that point parkland, usable parkland for the city of Everett. So we went in and hot-topped the land, removed the ability to use it as a park, and used it as parking for the site.
That's incorrect.
What's incorrect?
We have deemed it not suitable for park anymore.
The administration did, or the DPW commission, or?
The City Services Commission did.
City Service Commission did?
Yeah.
Okay. So that allowed the deed to be lifted to be able to not be utilized as parkland, so that we could go forward and release it to Suffolk for the purpose it's being utilized for. At
It
the
allowed us to enter into a lease to lease out the park for,
How long is the lease for?
is it 90 days or 3 years?
This gentleman.
It's a long time lease, right? Sorry. Yeah, you can, yeah.
Thank you. My name's Lee Smith. I'm from KP Law, representing the City as Special Counsel. The agreement for the parking is a license agreement, which can be terminated upon short-term notice, I believe 30 days or less. That came after the City Services Commission already voted to discontinue the use of that area as a playground. We also have a judgment of the Supreme Judicial Court that allows the discontinuation of the land as a playground as long as it is replaced, similar size and structure, with a new playground, which is what this is all about.
I just think that it's putting the horse before the cart a little bit here. We should have been notified that this was going to happen before, because what happens if we vote no to accept this land transfer on swapping parcels of land for a park? The hot top gets ripped up and we put grass back down? What transpires at that point?
We knew you had more foresight than doing that. We realized this is a great idea, and you all be in agreement with it.
And that's a great philosophy, and I think that we all are in agreement to it. I'm just talking about the future, right? Everybody wants to portray that we're all friends here.
Unfortunately, the park was in terrible condition, and no one actually wanted to go down there anymore to use it due to the industrial uses in the area. The amount of rust and dirt that was all over the fields from the surrounding businesses. It was a bad place for a park.
But I think less than 10 years ago it was renovated, right? I think you were probably still an alderman at that time when the park was
we did
renovated.
turf the field, yes,
Less than 10 years
prior
ago.
to my administration.
Prior
To my predecessor, too.
Right, probably under Mayor Lucci, right?
Correct. Which
we
is
did
which is close to almost 2 decades.
So almost 20 years ago, okay. I just was caught off surprise when I drove by there to see that it was already hot-topped and it was already being utilized as a parking facility for somebody at that point. Because I thought passing this and then going ahead and allowing that to happen should have been the protocol. But it's my opinion, and I wanted to know what agreement we signed into, when it could be broke if this didn't pass for some odd reason, which I'm sure it's going to. I just hope we have more of an open dialogue in the future on these types of developments. Thank you.
I think actually I talked to a good amount of you that we were entering into a lease with this park. I think a few of you that serve on the Everett United group knew about it from the beginning. We talked about it. It wasn't something that we hid from the public, but if you feel that you weren't in the know, I'll make sure that going forward that you have more information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor DeFlorio? I'm sorry, Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just say I'm in agreement with the plan, but as the councilman from the ward, I didn't know about a lease agreement. I do have one quick question to legal counsel. We've got the when you switch out the park, you need to institute more parkland. What do we have for a time frame that we have to do that? When you pull it out of circulation to get the park up and going elsewhere?
The Supreme Judicial Court judgment did not specify a time. It is just a one-for-one replacement in terms of size and structures.
Given your experience with these issues, what would be a reasonable amount of time for a city to be able to comply with that?
Well, in conjunction with the plans that we've discussed with WIN, which would be part of the entire land transfer and redevelopment of both the 7-acre park and the new replacement parcel of 3.47 acres, the plan is to have it go through design within the next few months, and once everyone's in agreement on what the enlarged playground should look like, construction can begin as soon as the spring, subject to
So I would
funding.
assume as long as the city's showing good faith moving forward with plans to implement the park, we should be fine.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
there would be a requirement, if the deal fell apart, we would have to
Have to replace it.
line would have to be rebuilt essentially, and that license agreement for the parking is truly temporary, and then it could be terminated at any time by the city.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilor DeFlorio?
My question was answered, but I do have just one other question. So basically, we're gonna be starting on this park at the 7-acre park right away. It's not gonna be something that we're gonna be doing a year, 2 years from now. As soon as the spring comes, more or less, you think that we're good going on that, is that correct?
We've already started designing the park. That WIN has paid for all the design work, and will pay for all the construction documents.
Right, I know, we had this lengthy discussion 2 weeks ago. We just had it laid on the table because we
Right.
couldn't vote on it because of the charter, so not
Right,
because.
We've been working on it for, I'd say at least a few months.
Okay.
And I think,
just wanted to make sure we're still in the process.
I think yourself, and I know Councilman McKinnon and a few others that have been in my office have showed you the plans. I know Councilman DePiero's been in. I don't know if I showed you Councilman Napolitano. I might have, but it's right on my table as you walk in. We talked about it for a while now. I mean, everyone has known our intentions.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
On the motion was for favorable action? Second, okay, motion for favorable action, all in favor, we'll answer the roll.
Counselor Capone.
Yes.
Counselor Delasola.
Yes.
Counselor DeFlorio. Yes. Counselor DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Mangan.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky. Yes. Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
7 yeas, 0 nays, you have passed the order. Clerk
If
will
you could
read
please take items
number-
6, 7, and 8 collectively, please.
What number?
6, 7, and 8,
And 24.
and 24.
Thank you.
Have them read. Motion made to second, take items 7, 8, and 24.
6, 7, and 8.
All in favor? All opposed? 7, 8, 24, right. All right, clerk will read item 7.
Item number 6, an order sponsored by Council John F. Handler as president, the sum of $5 million be transferred from the Community Mitigation Stabilization Fund to reduce the FY17 tax levy.
Motion made second, favorable action. Any further discussion on the motion?
Mr. President?
Councilor Capone.
I'm not sure, through you to our clerk, should we suspend Rule 13 just to be safe? I don't know that we're
Suspend it.
actually transferring
Yeah,
funds.
Always safe, better safe
Yeah.
than
All right,
sorry.
I make a motion, we
Second.
move, we
Motion made
suspend Rule
second, suspend Rule 7,
13.
13. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So moved. 13 has been suspended. On the motion, for favorable action? Motion made second, for favorable action. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Capone.
Yes.
Council Delasola.
Yes.
Council DeFlorio.
Yes.
Council DePiero.
Yes.
Council Mangan.
Yes.
Council Matusky.
Yes.
Council McKinnon.
Yes.
Council McLaughlin.
Yes.
Council Napolitano.
Yes.
Council Simonelli.
Yes.
Council Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr.
11
President.
ayes, 0 nays. You have passed the order. Clerk will read item number 7.
Item number 7 is sum of $1 million be transferred from the General Stabilization Fund account to reduce the FY 2017 tax levy.
Second.
Motion made second, suspend Rule 13. All in favor, signify
Aye.
by
Aye.
saying aye. All opposed? So moved. The item
Favorable
is
action on the order.
Second.
Motion made second, for favorable action. Any further discussion on item number 7? Hearing none, clerk will please call the roll.
Council Capone.
Yes.
Council Delasola.
Yes.
Council DeFlorio.
Yes.
Council DePiero.
Yes.
Council Mangan.
Yes.
Council Matusky.
Yes.
Council McKinnon.
Yes.
Council McLaughlin.
Yes.
Council Napolitano.
Yes.
Council Simonelli.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr.
7
President.
yeas, 0 nays, you pass the order. Clerk will read item number 8, please.
Item number 8 is an order sponsored by Councilor John F. Hanlon as president. The sum of $2 million be transferred from budgetary fund balance to reduce the FY17 tax levy.
Suspend Rule 13.
Second.
Motion made, second, suspend Rule 13.
Favorable action on the
All
order.
in favor? On Rule 13?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, okay.
Favorable
Favorable
action.
action on item number,
Second.
what do we got?
8.
8.
Item number 8. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Capone.
Yes.
Counselor Del Sola.
Yes.
Counselor DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counselor DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Mangan.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky.
Yes.
Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes,
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
you pass the order. Clerk will please item number 24.
Item number 24, resolution sponsored by Councilor John Lee McKinnon, Federal Component, honor the mayor utilize funds from the Wynn Casino and other developments throughout the city, to level our taxes in 2017, 2018, and yearly income from said developments be applied thereafter to give some much relief to every taxpayer.
Councilor McKinnon,
Through you, Mr. Chairman, can we have Eric Demus before us?
if you would, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Demus, for appearing. I have questions on, we just allocated $8 million and to relieve, tax relief for this upcoming 2017. What is the projections going forward to 2018 and 2019? Do you have those figures?
I do not, but what I can tell you, because I don't know how fiscal 17 is going to play out, there are a lot of variables involved, and it would be difficult to try to paint us into a box and tell you, you refer to a magic wand, to figure out exactly where we're going to end up for the end of the fiscal year. What I can tell you is that the largest chunk of the $8 million that was used this year to offset this tax rate was the first $5 million that came in underneath the community host agreement with Wynn. This May, this coming May, the city's also going to be receiving the second payment of $12.5 million. That is going to be one of the other funding sources that we will have available to help try to mitigate property taxes for the residents of the city.
And that will come in the relief of what, 2018?
We'll receive the money in May, so we'll have that when we go to set the next tax rate for fiscal 18.
So that'll be.
A year from right now.
Okay. And then, I'm assuming so on and so on, and depending on where we're at with funding and stuff like that, how the years go as a projection.
We're constantly updating our 5-year financial forecast. So the financial forecast that I presented to the city council back during the budget process has already been updated every time we get or receive significant changes in our financial information. I'm constantly updating that. So
Okay.
when we were able to close out the fiscal year, get our free cash certified by the state, get our new valuation numbers, our new growth certified by the state, I'm constantly updating that to make sure that it's fitting within the financial forecast that we presented.
Now, the reason why I ask is because, two things. We also mentioned water and sewer as well, funding going towards that, as well as, you know, I don't want to make this like a one-time shot. I think it should be consistent year after year. And it has been from what I can acknowledge from being here. So I just wanted to see if there was going to be a projection maybe for the 2008, but we can't ask that question now.
Well, I made the projections in where we stand right now. What we thought was going to happen when we presented the original budget to City Council has happened.
Mm-hmm.
I've received no indication that our long-term projections are going to continue, are not going to continue. We're not going to meet those anticipated results. What I can tell you is our goal is to level taxes.
Sure.
The worst thing that you can do for a taxpayer is to have a tax rate that looks like a roller coaster, where you have a lot of ebbs and flows. So our goal is to be as consistent as we can moving forward, providing as much tax relief as we can. You know, you have to maintain that delicate balance where you're embracing prudent financial policies, but yet at the same time not also acting as a bank for the taxpayer. So that conservative approach, trying to have a steady outlook moving forward. We were able to meet that as we had recommended or projected during the initial budget process. Once I closed out this year, the first time closing out the books for the year, I was able to make sure that we did meet all of those estimations. And I have every indication we're going to continue to meet those conservative estimations.
Well, I want to thank you for doing the work on this, and actually, I hope you can do continued work on this, because I think it's going to be rolling over from year to year. And I'd like to just say thank you, and thank the administration, and because we did mention this in the budget talks, and we did have a substantial amount come back to us in $8 million for relief, so thank you again.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick comment through the chair to Mr. Demas. I want to thank you for your efforts on this. And I appreciate the efforts of the administration. It's something that all of us have talked about. It's something I've been extremely vocal about since day one. I don't think anyone will question that. But we have a situation where we've got tremendous growth going on in the community. We've got significant cash flow coming in just from this one project. And it's always about quality of life for our residents. I know that we have many issues that we need to spend money on, and we will. But I do think that with the growth we've had, what we're continuing to have, we should be able to continuously provide some sort of relief to our taxpayers going forward. And I appreciate the efforts, and I think it's an excellent first start, and hopefully, you know, the forecast will continue, growth will continue, appreciation will continue, and we can continue to do what we can to offset the burden on resident taxpayers and overall improve the quality of life in the city. So I do thank you, and I thank the administration for hearing our collective voices on this, and for your hard work and continued work going forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on item 24, pleasure?
Excuse the customary thanks.
No, okay, thank you very much.
And refer back to sponsor, please.
Motion made, second, refer item 24 back to sponsor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, so moved.
Mr. President, can we suspend the rules and take item number 20 off the calendar, please?
20. Motion made, second, take item 20 off the calendar. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, so moved. Clerk will please read item number 20.
Item number 20.
Yeah, Madam Chair. Item number 20 is a resolution offered by Councilor Michael J. McLaughlin and the Italian City Council to invite Brian Doherty from the Massachusetts Building Trades to the next City Council meeting regarding what steps are in place to ensure hiring of Everett residents first at the Wynn Boston Harbor Resort.
Councilor?
Mr. President, for you, can we ask Chief of Staff Kevin O'Donnell and see if the mayor's still here in the building? I believe he is.
Would you like to lay this on the table for a moment and take the next
You got
case?
anybody? No,
There's no. I'm going through the pieces now.
Michael, do you want the mayor here? No, John, can you get the mayor?
Thought he was right there. I'm sorry.
We'll send someone down to get our clerk of committee.
Yeah.
Oh, he left? Sounds like Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
Elvis
Okay.
has left the building.
I'm utterly disappointed to hear that, but, Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. O'Donnell, I mean, to be truthful with you, I'm going to say that I've served on the Common Council for 2 years. I've been back here now for 11 months. I have never offered a piece of business that I've been more disappointed in this item. I'm disappointed in the lack of any cooperation from anyone involved with Wynn, the unions, or anybody. All I'm getting is lip service. Everybody's telling me we're going to have a meeting, we're going to talk about this. We have several hundred employees working at a site today, and less than 5% of them are Everett employees. When we campaigned, we worked hard for almost 4 years to prove that Everett jobs would be first on the line for Everett people. That has been an absolute outlier at this point from the unions. And I'm not sure where we go tonight, but I'm really frustrated that not one individual that was on this piece is here. And I spoke with the mayor personally, and he told me that he would be here tonight for this item number 20, and he left the building before staying for this item. If you want to add something, Mr. O'Donnell, I really don't have any questions for you, other than the fact that I'm very frustrated.
Well, I just want to say that I know it was my understanding that this meeting is in the process of being set up, if it hasn't already been set up or scheduled, with not only Mr. Doherty, but I also believe with representatives from Suffolk Construction as well. And so I don't know where it is on the calendar or where it is scheduled, but I can certainly get back to you as to when that is going to happen. With respect to the people that are currently work there, though, it's a very small percentage of the workforce that's actually there doing the, completing the slurry wall and things of that nature, which, not being in the construction business, you would understand that more, but it's more of a specialized unit, so it's really, what is there is only about either 1% or 10% of the actual workforce that is going to be up there starting once the steel starts going in December and everything like that. So it's my understanding that those numbers are likely to change in our favor.
Mr. O'Donnell, up until about 10 days ago, there was several hundred employees working on the site, and I know that right now we are in a lull because of steel being delivered for the next boom and phase of this project, right? We completed the slurry walls, and we completed the pre-construction, and those companies, I believe, have assembled and moved off a site. So that phase is gone, and we are kind of in a lull. I agree with you on that. The fact is, in December, we're going to hire several hundred new employees to be able to start actual construction of the facility. If it goes the way the first step or phase went, it's going to be a disaster for the residents of Everett. I started working on this back in September, I believe. It's now November, and we're no further ahead than I was in the beginning of September when I brought this to the attention of the WIN folks and the unions. And speaking with the highest of members you can get to, Mr. Tolman from the AFL-CIO and Mr. DeSalvio from WIN, and both assured me that we will be a lot further ahead today than we are, and we're not any further ahead. So I'm very frustrated on this item, and I wholeheartedly agree that I've been told that there'll be a meeting set up at some point. I've been told that they're in works for a meeting. You guys have meetings every single week with the WIN folks. It's not very hard to put a meeting together. It shouldn't take 3 months to have a meeting put together. I'll table this until the first meeting of December, and we'll see what happens from that point forward.
And I will address that at tomorrow's meeting with the WIN staff.
Thank you. Mr. President, through you, I'll make a motion that we table this until the first meeting of December.
Thank you, Kevin. You're excused. First meeting in December? Motion made and seconded to refer this to the first meeting in December. All in favor? All opposed? So moved. Before we continue, I need to do a little housekeeping here. I have a citation that I wanted to give. Nobody knows what it's about, but I just wanted to do it and everything. Sometimes we have members here that do a little extra work, and they never get recognized for it. And sometimes it's in Everett, sometimes it's not in Everett. And I just want to recognize this person for what he's been doing for a long, long time. So this is a citation, and it says, "Be it hereby known to all that the Everett City Council, in his honor the mayor, hereby offer their sincerest congratulations to Councilor Michael J. McLaughlin. In recognition of your receiving the St. Cosmos and Damien Society 2016 President's Award for your dedication and hard work towards the success of this annual festival. The entire City Council extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope of continued good fortune, submitted by President John Haley and the entire council." We've been doing this for 10 years. Nobody knows about it. I just found out about it, and I said we should do something for him. So thank you very much, even though it's not us. Thank you for helping out other people. Say something.
That was caught off surprise. I would like to thank my colleagues here in the chambers tonight. Some of my colleagues that are sitting before me are also a part of this very important Italian heritage culture throughout Massachusetts, and namely Cambridge. Councilor Della Sola and Councilor Mangan join me in this effort monthly. And we've done some great work for the Italian heritage culture, and last weekend I was honored at a dinner in the city of Cambridge for this prestigious award. So I would like to thank my colleagues tonight, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. President, can I suspend the rules and take items number 14, 15, 16, and 17 collectively?
14, 15, 16, and 17? 14, 15, 16, and 17, is that right? Counselor? Counselor McKinnon?
Yep.
You say 14, 15, 16, and 17?
Yes.
Motion made second, take items 14, 15, 16, and 17 out of order. All in favor? All opposed? Clerk will read item number 14.
Item number 14, Government Operations Public Safety Public Service Report on a resolution offered by Councilor Frank Capone. With the summer months approaching, the City Council consider providing a bicycle safety education program for school-age children and public at large. With a recommendation to refer to the mayor and police chief to conduct public awareness program for bike safety.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Grant further time.
It's, you know, it's a very important topic, especially as we're going green. We're going to have bike lanes. We're trying to, you know, encourage people to use bicycles as alternate transportation. It's really important that everyone understands the rules of the road when using the bicycle for the safety of pedestrians and for their own safety. So the committee had recommended that we refer this to the mayor and the police chief, and so I moved to accept the committee report and refer it in those locations.
No, just go to it now.
Nope. So I move that we accept the committee report, refer it to the mayor and the police chief.
The motion from the committee is to grant further time and invite a representative of the mayor's office to the next meeting.
Mayor and police.
That's what I have.
But the mayor and the police you wanted to go to?
No, I don't think.
Oh,
that-
could
that's what
revert
it
back,
is.
I'm sorry, to revert back to the city council recommendation, refer to the mayor and police chief to conduct a public awareness program for bike safety.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Based on that, can I have a second on that motion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? You have referred to the police chief and the mayor. Item 15.
Number 15, Government Operations Public Safety and Service Committee report. Resolution offered by Councilors Fred Capone and Leo McKinney to determine how voluntary auxiliary members can be assistance to the community with a recommendation to refer back to sponsor.
Refer to sponsor.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, refer back to sponsor. Any further discussion? All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? The ayes have it, you referred back to sponsor. Clerk will read item 17.
16, item 16, Government Operations Public Safety Public Service Committee report offered by Councilor Stephen Spinelli, set up a memorial mark for former Councilman Joseph King, with a recommendation to refer to the mayor to determine which of these locations would be appropriate for a memorial.
Accept committee report, place on file.
Yeah. Councilor Simonelli?
We would like to invite the mayor to attend the first council meeting in December with some recommendations in hand.
Motion made.
Second.
Second to refer this to the daughter of the mayor to appear with some answer to this question on the first meeting in December. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Yes, so moved. Clerk will read item number 17.
Number 17, Government Operations Public Safety Service Committee report. Resolution offered by Council Pino Napolitano, City Services, discuss how city manages low-hanging branches for personal property damage. The recommendation refer to ECTV so that the 311 number, DPW address, and tree warden's email address can be advertised as it relates to tree issues within the city.
Councilor Napolitano.
Refer to ECTV.
Refer this, motion made second, refer this to ECTV for their work, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'm very proud of this administration for putting this 311 in effect, because I requested it 10 years ago. Takes a little time and effort, but things do get done. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of referring?
Aye.
All opposed? That referred to ECTV. Clerk will read number 9, I think. Number 9.
Item 9 is an order sponsored by Council John F. Handler as president to authorize a revolving account for school transportation and to transfer $424,424 to this new fund.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can we have Mr. Demus before us? This should be, Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
President.
Councilor, go ahead.
Thank you. Are you able to discuss this, explain exactly what this pieces for?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
If you would, I'd appreciate it.
My pleasure. As part of my first time going through and closing out the city's books and getting ready to roll over for the current year, the new fiscal year, became aware that we actually were taking state monies aside that were received specifically related to special education reimbursement, and then making payments out of an agency fund, very similar to like we do with some other very specific state revenues. The technical way to do this is actually to have it in a revolving fund. And then when I did some research, I realized that the city had never actually voted on enacting this revolving fund. So as such, I had a conversation with our outside auditors and made the determination the best way to do this was to come to City Council, have City Council vote yea or nay on the establishment of this revolving fund, and then just have all of this activity being reported, within Mass General Law. The way it was being done, it was all handled through an agency fund. This will actually put it in a special revenue fund and treat it like all other similar state revenues.
Okay, and in the funds that are being transferred, these are funds that would have gone and been held in agency status anyway, so it's not an increase, decrease, it's the same amount, or no?
There is zero impact on taxes and on the general fund. This is all state activity that was happening outside of the general fund. It's just more of a accounting technicality. I'm moving it from an agency fund to a special revenue fund.
More streamlined and actually more transparent, so it's
Absolutely.
the right way to go. So,
Yes.
all right, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Any further questions? Thank you very much, sir. On the order? No,
It's up to the president. If the president thinks it's routine, we can.
discuss
go
it.
ahead.
I mean, it's something
Favorable
we've
action?
always done, we just don't have it in the right order, that's all.
Based on that, favorable action.
Second.
Motion made, second, favorable action, all in favor, the clerk.
Oh, actually, maybe we should suspend Rule 13 just to be safe.
Motion made, second,
Second.
suspend Rule 13, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, so moved.
Favorable action on the order.
Favorable action on the order. Clerk call roll.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Del Solo.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky. Counsel McKinnon.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr.
10
President.
yeas, 0 nays to pass the order. Item number 11, please. Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
President, could we suspend the rules and take 11 and 12 collectively?
Motion made, second, take 8, 11, and 12 collectively. Clerk will please read 11 and 12.
Item number 11 is a petition for a second-class motor dealer license, Malden Auto Repair and Sales at 80 Tremont Street, and 12 is a repair license for Malden Auto Repair at 80 Tremont Street.
Mr. President, make a motion, refer to Business Community Development?
I'm sorry. Clerk,
On the
repeat
motion,
that.
I just,
The Committee of Business and Community Development.
I just want you to know that the petitioner was here, and I knew this was gonna be a long night, so I felt that we were gonna send it to committee anyway, so I extended, to let them go home. I just want everybody to know that here.
Motion made, second.
Second the motion.
Second the motion, all in favor? You refer to government operations.
I got it.
Yeah, okay, we got it. All right. Item 13.
Item number 13 is communication regarding pilot project to create a rush hour bus line on Broadway. To the Everett City Council, Jay Monty, Transportation Planner. Beginning on Monday, December 5th, and running through the morning of Friday, December 9th. The city will be working with the MBTA to test a pilot project that would create a bus-only lane on the southbound side of Broadway between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. The bus lane would utilize the existing southbound parking lane between Glendale Square and Sweetster Circle. This project is a result of one of the recommendations from the Everett Transit Action Plan, which found that nearly half of all people traveling on the Broadway corridor transit users, and that the parking along Broadway during the early morning hours is typically only 20 to 30% utilized. The Department of Planning and Development will be pleased to further inform council members at a future at a future committee meeting regarding all of the logistics and safety measures that will be implemented during this project.
Councilman Mangan.
President, seeing that, I do work for the MBTA, but one other thing, if we could just accept this communication, but also I'd like to just send a copy of this letter, if we could, to the, just so they know, because I don't know if they're aware that this is going on, but to the Boston Commons Union. They represent all the, the bus drivers and stuff like that, just to so they're aware of it too, that, you know, that's going on for their members and so forth, in case there's any issues and so forth. So if we could just, which is at 295 Devonshire Street in Boston. Thank you. Attention, Mr. Clerk, attention, Mr. Patrick Hogan.
What's his name?
Patrick Hogan.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could append to that, too, if we could just request the mayor's office, I'm sure they've already done it, but just to make sure that the businesses in that stretch are aware of this so that it may be impacting their business, and that their customers could be made aware of it as well.
Don't you also
I appreciate
refer
it.
this to his honor the mayor? You want it to come back to us?
No, just a request that they notify the businesses that are affected in that area,
Okay.
so that at least it's not a surprise to them when it happens.
All set.
Mr. President, I have a question.
Refer his honor the mayor to notify the businesses also.
Between 5 and 9.
And also to refer this to the Boston Carpenters Union. Okay, all in favor?
I have a question, Mr. President. From Glendale Square to Suites to Circle, and isn't that one lane until you get to Suites to Circle? I'm missing something here. Broadway is one lane on each side.
It will utilize the existing southbound parking lane.
And how long is this going to be for?
4 days.
Well, I suppose it's only 4 days, so it doesn't work out. Okay. Sounds a little over the top to me, but
Councilor Richard Delasola?
If this pilot plan works, they think they're gonna have no parking on Broadway from Glendale Square all the way to the Rotary?
From 5 a.m. to
From
9
5
a.m.
to 9, 5 a.m. to 9 a.m.
So if you work in the bank, or if you wanna run the bank or something like that, you can't park out there until 9 o'clock.
After 9 o'clock.
That's why it's a pilot program.
And they're just trying to see.
I do a pilot plan, I guess, but I wouldn't,
It is pilot program. For 4 days? 4 days?
yeah, that's, see if it works, right? It just sounds kinda crazy, but, all right, we'll see how it works.
will that be advertised in the 3 papers in the Everett, Mr. President? We have to put that on there.
I would think so. I mean, you know, you gotta let
I
people
mean,
know.
you're talking about McKinnon's, you're talking about everything on Broadway, from Glendale Square to Suites to, on the right-hand side, am I correct?
Yep.
There's a lot of businesses. You got the, the breakfast place there in the square.
Includes City Hall.
You got the
includes
library, Rite Aid. It seems to me that there's a lot of people parking at that time of day, so they're gonna go somewhere else. They're gonna go into the inner neighborhoods on each side probably, and chew up the parking spaces all over the city. But if it's advertised and people know about it, at least they'll have a chance to be aware of it.
We'll mention that. Councilor McLaughlin?
It's a pilot program.
Mr. President, I'm in awe of this, to be truthful with you. So they want to have no parking on the right-hand side of Broadway from Glendale Square to Suites to Circle? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
I would vote not to allow this pilot program to go forward until we have some in-depth conversations in-house about this item. I don't think that we can just vote to shut down parking on the right-hand side of Broadway for 4 days and tell the residents and the business owners, sorry, we made this decision tonight. I don't think that we are even remotely informed enough to be able to make a decision like this. I can't believe this is really the first time, other than Thursday, I'm hearing about this item. I would not be in support of this.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Councilor Peter Napolitano?
Thank you. I mean, I share some of the same feelings as my colleagues, but this is a communication. This is not something asking for our approval, first of all. Second of all, similar programs are being enacted all over the Commonwealth. I go down to Quincy every week to visit my brother. Quincy Center has a similar type of thing. I believe the prudent course is, first, do some individual research ourselves. Take a look and see what some of these businesses are opening. Majority of the businesses that are be affected by this generally open around 9 a.m. And I say that just being a former Everett business owner. But then again, only way we'll know that for certain if we do a little research on our own. Let's find out, let's hit the streets, do some, legwork, find out what's going on. It's only going to be for 4 days. Let's see how it plays out. Perhaps it may be a significant improvement in the traffic flow. And we're aware of this, but, you know, you'll never know how something's going to work unless you try it. And again, it's not asking us for permission to try it, it's informing us that it's going to happen. This is strictly a communication. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Napolitano hit it on the head. It is just a communication. It's a recommendation that came from the Everett Transit Action Plan. And the idea is to try to do something to move the traffic. All you have to do, I live on Broadway, I see the traffic not move on Broadway. You're trying to get people from point A to point B, get them to work, and move the flow of traffic. Again, that's why it's 5 days. It's 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., and that's why I made the request that businesses be notified. I think the publication in the paper is the way to go. I'm sure that the administration already has that in play, but it's 5 days, and either it's going to be a disaster or it's going to work. And based on that, you'll take the next step. So we've already got a motion, so.
Will we get a report, Mr. President, just?
Councilman McLaughlin.
Mr. President, there is a reason why they do street sweeping at 3 o'clock in the morning on the main drags. There's a reason why they don't do street sweeping at 5 to 9 a.m. like normal street sweeping hours. They do it during the middle of the night when nobody's on Broadway. Think about what we're going to impact for a second. And I understand we have no vote on this, but I think we need to send a clear message to the administration that this isn't okay to do without even informing us before tonight. The Poundland School has a lot of teachers that park on Broadway for the day of school. We're now going to tell those teachers find somewhere else to park at the Poundland School. If you go up Broadway, I can think of 20 businesses that are negatively going to be impacted by this for the 4 days. Dunkin' I mean, it just could go on with a list of businesses. This is absolutely one of the absolute worst ideas I've heard of in a long time in these chambers. I would like to send a clear message to the administration tonight that I am utterly disappointed in this pilot program, and I do not support this. When it comes out, no matter what the pilot results are, I will not be supporting a motion of this magnitude.
Thank you. Councilman Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. It seems to me, I'm willing to give it a shot, but I mean, we have to determine if we want to keep it after it's given a chance. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we get a vote on this? Or is it traffic commissioners? We don't have any say at all, do we?
I don't think so. Traffic. Huh? Well, this is a communication, but what Wayne is saying, if it works out and they want to make it a law.
If it's permanent, we should have some kind of say in it. And the other thing I have is the only.
Ask them to come up. Ask them to come up and talk on it.
I don't think there's anybody here on the MBTA, is there?
No, but they should know what's going on, right?
Well, no, we can lay it on the table and ask somebody to come back, but, and the other statement I'd like to make is the only people that end up at Sweetser Circle is the buses. I mean, you're still gonna have the traffic. The buses are the only people, and once they get the Sweetser, you ever get behind 4 buses?
Lots of times.
It's a nightmare. I stay away from buses if possible, but I don't know. It seems to me that if you take parking away from one side, they're gonna go to the other side, and then both sides are affected. It's communication telling us what they're gonna do. So, I mean, at least we're a little aware up until tonight, but,
Mr. Chairman.
if there's issues down the road with this, and we have a problem, I'd really like to, know how we're gonna address that. It was nice that they notified us, but do we have any say at all? The Traffic Commission.
Well, we can look into it before, what is it, December what?
That's what I was gonna say.
December 5th.
Have them
We can
come to us.
double check it. You know.
Can we request a complete report on how this works out?
We still have a meeting. Yeah, we still have one.
Yeah,
meeting.
okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm a little confused about the whole affair.
Councilman Napolitano.
Is that actually what I was going to suggest is what, I mean, it's going to happen, so let's request a briefing on the results of this after it's happened. Let's find out what the experts have determined, how this has worked, how it's not worked. In the meantime, collect your own personal information, bring it all to the table, and we'll make a decision when it comes down to that point. But the thing is, again, if this is decided, I'm not sure who's making this decision, whether it's the mayor's office, whether it's the traffic commission. If it's the traffic commission, we're only able to provide feedback. We have no authority there, and that was relinquished almost over 10 years ago.
right, so just, motion to, place it on file? Okay, all in favor? Oh, so who'll move? Okay, that's 13, 19. Clerk will read item number 19.
Resolutions, number 19 is a resolution sponsored by Council Peter A. Napolitano that the administration consider through community development to set aside funds from the Wind Project when received to assist property owners in Everett Square in converting unusable second and third floor space of residential to residential, period.
Councilor Napolitano.
Thank you. I received a communication from Tony Souza, the planning director. I'll read it. It says, one of the elements of the Everett Square study is to look at zoning to help support the conversion of second and third floor spaces. The consultants are in the final stage of preparing recommendations. Prior to the final report, the team will meet with the city council as a follow-up to the earlier meeting this past summer. For this reason, I'm respectfully requesting additional time to meet with the city council and to finalize the report recommendations. What I'd like to do is I'd like to grant further time on this until the second meeting of December. At this time, they may not have a report ready. We might need to push it into the next year, but let's grab a date that's at least on this end of the new year.
Motion made second to refer this subject matter to the second meeting in December. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved. You have referred to second meeting in December. Clerk will read item number 21.
That was 20.
20, we did 20.
Good. Thank God. Item number 21 is an order sponsored by Councilor John F. Handler, President, to appropriate $35,041 to ISD's fiscal 2017 budget for video conferencing and other related listed supplies and equipment with Wynn Resorts regarding the casino project.
Favorable action? Suspend Rule 13?
Motion to suspend Rule 13. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Rule 13 has been suspended. I had a motion for favorable action. Do I have
Second.
a second? Motion made and seconded for favorable action on this subject matter. Any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Della Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio. Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky. Yes. Counsel McKinnon.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr.
7
President.
0 nays. You have passed the order. Clerk will read item 23. I think it's 23. Yeah, date on Mount Washington, yeah.
Don't park them.
Item number 25.
3.
3. God, these three up.
25 is coming.
A resolution sponsored by Counsel Stephen Simonelli to get an update on Mount Washington Street retaining wall.
Do we have anything come back? Anything has come back to us?
I don't have
Nothing? Nothing has come back to us? Yes, sir.
Yeah, it looks like the city engineer is not here tonight, so we're going to request that he's at the next council meeting.
Second motion.
Motion made, second?
Never mind.
Okay, all right.
Might have-
Mr. O'Donnell, please come forward.
Yes, good evening, Council. Yeah, the city engineer was unavailable, but they are currently going through the punch list items, and they're on the completion of the final edition of the fence, but he will provide you a more detailed written report by week's end, or if you prefer, he could appear at the next meeting, whatever your pleasure is with respect to that.
What? Right then. Yeah, it's, we'd definitely like to request that he does come and give an update in person. It's the second request to have him come here, so we would request to have him in person.
Absolutely.
Next
He will be here for certain next meeting, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thank you very much, Kevin. On the motion?
Motion is to request the city engineer to attend the next meeting to give a progress update.
Okay, motion made and second to have the city engineer to attend our next meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? All opposed? You have referred to the city's engineer, asked him to be at our next meeting. Clerk will read item 25.
Item 25 is an order sponsored by Counsel John F. Handler, President, whereas the Supreme Court has ruled that restricting where sex offenders live is unconstitutional, therefore be it ordered by the City Council of Everett. Section 13-7 revised order of the City of Everett is hereby deleted in its entirety. This is on ordainment.
Yeah. Motion made, and second for favorable action. Clerk will call the roll.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Delasola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio. Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky.
Yes.
Counsel McKinney.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin. Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
10 yeas, 0 nays, you have passed the order. Clerk will read item 26.
Item number 26, an ordinance sponsored by Council Peter A. Napolitano, an ordinance to add new section 3 animal care standards to revised ordinances of the city of Everett.
Counsel Napolitano.
Refer to legislative affairs.
Second.
Motion made, and second to refer to legislative affairs. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have referred.
Move for adjournment?
Second.
President, before we leave, I know everyone probably forget, next week is Thanksgiving, and we won't meet before, again, so I just want to wish everyone, all the residents of the city and their families, and especially the, people fighting overseas for us to put their, we just had Veterans Day last week, but everyone that puts themselves in harm's way throughout our country, just wish them and their help and safe Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Yes, Counsel Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a member of the Chavo Club, I'd also like to invite senior citizens to their annual Thanksgiving dinner, which will be November 20th, next Sunday, between 12 and 3 o'clock. They serve hundreds of dinners. It's unbelievable what they do. The members and the staff there do a great job feeding quite a few people, and all senior citizens are invited. And it's complimentary, and they're giving complimentary rides back and forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a good idea. I've been to them too, by the way, so they're very nice. Okay, thank you very much, folks.
Aye. Somebody's got to do it, guys.